Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only facts of life that is all halos, all holy water, all the time.
Oh, holy shit.
Oh man, I am so excited about this episode. We got the best sister, and I've got the best podcast co-host, Britt Dominik. Lovely, luscious, lickable. I realized today I haven't called you those things in a while.
It's because I haven't been exuding that vibe for a while.
I really think it's just that I'm not in your presence, and when I see you and I
You'll
can
immediately
touch you
go
and
to
I give you a
licking.
hug, yeah, I'm like she's luscious, lovely, and lickable. On camera, less lickable, but that's mostly because I need to clean my laptop.
Oh, we should also probably just, at some point we should probably record one of these in smell-o-vision so that you can smell me as well.
Well, sometimes I use my cat's litter box as a balancing area when I was trying to
That's
figure out where we're gonna what area I was gonna use. There was a
that
period when I did
that
balance
sounds
that.
that sounds dangerous.
Here's the thing is that I had it on an ottoman and then I had a clip light that was on my computer on my laptop and then that the ottoman was mushy and the clip light made the laptop heavy and it was like "Wah, wah," and then I felt very not safe with that situation.
Precarious?
Yes.
Precarious?
And then at the last minute I swapped it out because we were about to record and I was like, I have nothing firm. That's this height. And I was like, the cat litter box has a hat. So I put it on that and it worked great. We never
Okay.
talked about this, but it was something that happened in my life. Yeah. All right. We
That's
have already gone off on a tangent and
and
we have no time to spare.
and that's the thing is that we're on like basically almost like officially 365 days of like serious quarantine pandemic quarantining. So what you describing with in such great detail your use of your kitty litter box as a device to put your laptop on, I was rapt. I thought that was actually, to be perfectly frank, more interesting than this two-parter episode.
Well,
I
you're
couldn't.
only saying that because you're not a Brady Bunch fan, so you didn't squeal with delight on the inside upon seeing Eve Plum arrive.
So that's the thing. I barely knew who the fuck that was.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's already your problem.
Yeah, that is my problem. But again, why would I be so excited to see her to be in this, to be perfectly frank, rather thankless role?
I mean, she's not she's not the villain.
Who is the villain?
God.
Oh, God is the villain.
Well, he was, then he died. It's a whole thing. We'll get into it on a
Sure.
whole new episode of the Facts of Facts. So, The Best Sister was written by Linda Marsh and Margie Peters. This episode is so intense in its ineptitude and also the fact that I think that this is my theory on this episode, but directed by Azad Kalata. I got it out. Okay. This is my theory on this episode is this. This was supposed to be one episode, not a two-parter.
Yes.
Then they got Eve Plum. Then the network was like, she's a Brady. Can you like stretch this into two episodes? They're like, okay, sure. And so they did that, but what should have been the middle part was the punch.
Yeah.
But that would have been the middle part of the half hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, instead it comes three-quarters of the way in, and this episode has the pacing of this intro, which is to say all over the place.
Yeah. So I want to just take a step back. So this is season 4, episodes 17 and 18. This is a two-parter episode, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, and high level, what happens is Blair's ex stepsister, whom
Step half sister.
step half sister, whom they can't even get it straight which parent was married when to whom, over how close they are in, but they keep saying, making the joke of being like, Blair, you don't have a sister. And she's like, yeah, this is a sister from another mister, blah, 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 whatever. It's fine. She's my sister. Anyway, so up comes this random person to deliver the news that she's decided to become a nun. That's the news. That's the big news. And as soon as she says that,
everybody's like, great, you do you.
Exactly. Everyone on the show reacts in an insane way.
Yes.
They don't react in a way which normal people would be like, oh, okay, wow, you're an adult woman with, educated with free will, and you've decided to devote yourself to a life of God. Okay, go do it. That's fine. No conflict here. Why would I stand in the way of this? There would be no episode if you stood in the way of this.
Well, there definitely would be no 2-part episode.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that I was so befuddled by this episode, this 2-parter, because it made no real sense. Because it was sort of like, here some random stranger who's not even related to Blair drops in, delivers news, everyone has a fucking meltdown over it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So, and again, I was sort of like, I wonder why this happened. And I actually thought, how many fucking angry letters did the network receive after the abortion episode earlier this season that required them to have to address the fact that these little girls are not apparently godless? Everyone on this show believes in God, according to this. Now, Jo was so enthusiastic, she wanted to become a nun.
Yeah.
Without really understanding the kind of commitment that is.
Yeah, and Jo, I would say almost all of them probably never mention religion again.
Yeah. So this felt like a Band-Aid episode. This was like the network, they were like, we're freaking out. We're losing viewership. They think that these little girls are having sex all day long, all the time, having abortions, every weekend.
Well, so I mean, come on. We just learned this is Jo's first college weekend.
I know, exactly.
College weekend.
Yeah. But so it was like, we need to address the fact, and so basically confirm for everyone in the audience that these little girls all have a personal relationship with God.
I mean, does Natalie?
I feel like yes.
The only perspective, and we will get into this, but the only perspective I remember Natalie having is like, but you won't fuck.
Yeah.
That was her main source of concern. And then eventually she was just like, I think Natalie was basically like, if you're cool not fucking, more men for me. More fuck Steves in more vans for me. Seemed to be Natalie's perspective. But let's get into this classically the way we do. Because we got a lot to talk about. And this is an episode that it's not new to me. I know all about it. I've watched it. But because it's a 2-parter, I think I may have mentioned this before on the podcast. If I get one on my DVR, I'm much more inclined to watch a single one than a 2-parter, because half the time I won't have both parts on my DVR, and I don't take my DVD out that often to watch them, except for this process. And of course, I'm specifically abstaining from watching other Facts of Life episodes while we do this. So,
you're abstaining. You're abstaining, much like Meg, our novice nun.
Yes, Sister Meg. So this is an episode I didn't have all the rhythms and the plot twists down pat. I know there was a punch coming. I know Jo wants to be a nun. But I was not familiar with this one the way I am, say, the next episode, which is bonkers in a totally different way.
But
So
the
so
the
this was
yeah, so that's the problem here is that it felt it felt like a too long episode. Like just it felt like one episode that was just stretched into two episodes for no reason, which is just I was actually thinking about that again, another sign of Facts of Life's deep incompetence because want to know why you do a two-parter? Because you want to do a cliffhanger to keep the audience to come back next week
yes.
to watch it. So they fucked that up too. I don't give a shit if Joe comes back at all or if she wants to be a nun. That's not a big deal to me.
It was a big deal to me. I mean, not like last night when I watched it, but a big deal to me at the time as a kid. I was like, don't become a nun. You're
But
Joe.
again,
You got to drive motorcycles.
no, but again, that's the problem with this show is that the message is so inconsistent and insane because it's like the message is Meg, a woman should be able to do what the fuck she wants to with her body. She should be able to be, a scientist, an astronaut, or a nun if she wants, right?
Yeah.
That's the message, right?
Yes.
But then the message is also, but Joe, no, you shouldn't want to be a nun. Bad, Joe. No, bad. Don't become a nun.
Well, like, look, don't become a nun if you believe that it's just add water, shake, and become a nun.
Right.
That's the thing. There's more than that. There's a year of cutting off your family for some mysterious circumstances, not speaking to anybody, including your cousin, who your step aunt, sister, whatever Blair is to her. She not speaking to her for no reason. I get like, hey, your family tried to like kidnap you and whatnot. Hello, crazy plot twist. But like that doesn't have anything to do with Blair. Call Blair. Be like, hey, my family's trying to kidnap me. Come get me. Can I hang out in Eastland with you? I
Also, here's the thing: take my sports car and all my money. I'm giving up this life. Who cares?
yes.
Okay, But again, the other thing that I thought about is that the way that I feel like this was pitched, that Linda Marsh and Margie Peters were basically were like, it's a hilarious idea because here's what parents of errant children always do. They threaten to send you to military academy or they threaten to send you to the convent. And this one is, what if she runs away to the convent? Oh shit, what a fucking plot twist. Yeah.
All right. So we open the show in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Mrs. Garrett and Tootie are cleaning some dishes, and Joe walks in dressed like what would happen if Queer Eye was all lesbians.
I wrote down like a novice nun. I actually thought by this point she already converted to becoming a nun. She is wearing something so deeply unflattering and weirdly asexual. Like she looked like a sister wife. And here's the thing. The implication is that she's getting all dolled up and all feminized up to go on this
like go see a man.
To go see a man, to go get railed all weekend, right?
So weird. That outfit is so wrong for getting sex that I was like, she's going on a business interview. Like she's misguided and she doesn't know how to dress. She picked something from the Mayim Bialik collection at Sears. But yes, she is going to be interviewed. And no, she's going to get some dick, and they're not even being coy about it. No. They're like, yeah, that's what she's doing.
Listen, she looked so bad. Mrs. Garrett could catch a dick before Joe could.
I mean, Mrs. Garrett has caught several dicks.
But Mrs. Garrett looked great in this episode. Even though a lot of it was like her just being kind of a creep, being like, Joel, we need to talk about what's going to happen when you get off the train. You might have a train run on you. It's just like, gross all fucking episode.
Yeah, she will. I mean, yeah, she was. Anyway, so the outfit is terrible. I actually had to take a break from my notes to take a walk around the block after I saw her outfit. I was like, okay, this is going to be... I was really procrastinating this one.
I know. The thing is, you sent me the picture of that. You took a screen cap and you sent it to me, and I was just like, is this... as I said, I was like, is she already a nun in this? And you were like, no, this is the first 15 seconds of the episode. She hasn't even said anything yet.
I know. And the first thing she says is like, no cracks, or I'm changing back into my pussy-stained dungarees. Which,
Yeah, I know. I think, and that again, that's the thing is that everyone, once someone does something that is slightly out of character, everyone needs to make an obnoxious comment on it. Joe,
mm,
you have legs. Wah, wah. Oh, I can't. Someone else says something. Tootie says something obnoxious
I
about
think
her
it's
outfit.
just Judy says that she has legs, and she also shouts, "I can't believe you're going away to your first college weekend."
Yeah,
Just so the audience knows that's why she's wearing that, and I'm like, "Oh my god, don't wear that! That boy's gonna see you, and his neck is gonna swell up, and he's gonna nearly die
yeah.
because he's gonna be so repulsed by your outfit, and then he's gonna have to like come up with some kind of like lie."
Excuse.
Yeah, it's like I got mumps. I saw your outfit, and I
I
got
saw
mumps.
your legs, and I vomited in my mouth, causing myself to have to go to the infirmary.
So Mrs. Garrett says that this is the first college weekend, and that is a monumental event in any girl's life. Britt, for serious, have you have you heard this expression before?
College weekend?
Like, I understand, like, you go to a college for a weekend, yeah, but like they were all just being like, "Oh, this is your first college weekend," like it was a capital C, capital W, like it's a thing, like basically code for you're gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
But like, did you ever hear that expression, college
No,
weekend, or did they just make that up so that we could have code for you getting fucked?
it's just code.
Okay.
It's the implication. Also, no, of course I didn't, because by the time I was of the age that Joe is, people weren't sort of being coy about it. It was like, oh, so you're gonna go party with those college boys, and you're gonna catch some dick this weekend. People were saying that. They weren't saying, oh, you could, like, we weren't utilizing some sort of weird old fashioned like way to get around that.
Well, I don't know what
Are,
your
are you
circles were,
are
but
you
my
gonna
circles,
you're gonna go
everything
to
had
the
to.
you're gonna check a book out of the library. If you, it's like, no, yes, I'm gonna get my pussy licked. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do.
All right. Well, I hope you're not listening to this early, Facts of Lovelies. Anyway, so Tootie is
Oh,
so dumb when she's
so
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
so I was just gonna say again, going back to college weekend, and because they keep saying it over and over and over again, where Joe's basically like, "Yeah, I know, I'm going on my college weekend. Like, stop talking about it." And then Natalie, who is kind of doesn't have anything really to do aside from be like really thirsty and very pathetic and ultra obnoxious in this episode, she comes up and like a total pedant explains to Joe what a college weekend is without explaining it. She goes, Joe, you're going on a college weekend. You're going to a college for a weekend. And Joe looks at her like, Natalie, you did you hit your head on the way over here to explain that to me? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, yes. But even before that happened, this is where Mrs. Garrett wants to have a talk with Joe before anything happens, and it's like, you really should have had this conversation in Paris. Shit went down in Paris.
Yeah,
Like,
with David.
yeah, we shouldn't be
But
too
but again,
worried about this.
but again,
College weekend. You had
college weekend.
Paris month.
Exactly. That's the crazy thing is that Joe was almost a child bride the first season she was at Eastland.
Yes,
So she's
they
been
were in a
around the
hotel
block.
room together.
I don't know what this is.
Tootie's so dumb too. She's like, "What could happen?" As though the idea of sex has never crossed her mind, even though she has been photographed by a pedophile and nearly became a child prostitute. But whatever. Mrs. Garrett says she'll talk to Joe privately because Tootie couldn't possibly hear whatever. What is Mrs. Garrett going to say that is so explicit that Tootie cannot hear? Because it's probably good advice no matter what. Unless she's like, "All right, this is how you
Blowjob
don't."
techniques? I don't
Yeah,
know.
just like I'm gonna give you my graduated dildo set so you can open yourself up before you get there.
Yeah.
Just play with it on the train. Um,
Yeah.
Regardless, Mrs. Garrett wants to talk to Joe about all the fucking she's gonna be doing in Connecticut. Which is, I mean, all Mrs. Garrett does is flirt with young men, like really flirt with old men as well in front of these girls. So I don't
Yeah.
know what she's planning on saying. She's not setting a great example if she's trying to be like, don't do it.
Well, true. But again, also like I also kind of resent the implication If I were Joe, I would resent the implication that, Mrs. Garrett needed to constantly, talk to me about and not empower me to make good choices. To be like, you shouldn't be going on this college weekend.
Well, she wasn't going to say don't go. She was driving her on the train.
Yeah. Anyway,
Uh, so
so
Blair
then,
comes in, and she is ravished by Joe's feminine grace. She says she
yeah,
looks positively tasteful,
yeah, and then
and that taste is a fish taco.
that's the crack that breaks Joe's back, and she's like, I gotta go back in my Wranglers.
Yes, that
Yeah,
is. But Blair won't let her dare. She won't be showing up to Yale looking like the Marlboro Man, which is, in my opinion, preferable to what she currently looks like.
please, it would be a huge improvement, even if she just swapped genders and like had a mustache. It would be much better than what she's wearing right
Even
now.
if she just had a mustache,
Yeah.
it would improve her look.
Yes.
Anyway, we learn there's a Jason at Yale that
Yeah.
Joe has already impressed enough to get an invite for this college weekend.
Hmm.
And then this is where Natalie just flat out is like, I want to say exposition, but it was all said already, but I'll just do it.
Yes.
Joe, your first college weekend. They just ran out of lines, so they were using them. This is like the first example of them stretching in this episode already. It's like 1 minute in,
Yes.
and we've been talking college weekend for an hour.
Yeah.
Um, and Joe wants to know why everyone's calling it a college weekend, which is exactly what I was thinking at the exact time. I was like, this is not an expression. But that's when Natalie breaks down the etymology of the phrase, and it
Yeah.
checks out. It is a college weekend.
Yeah.
And Tootie points out that Joe is living their fantasy, which is so sad.
Again, and then Natalie says something really pathetic. She says, okay, so after you get back from the college weekend, I need you to write down everything that happens in my diary.
Yeah.
I wrote down, this is the most pathetic thing possible. I get living vicariously and like hearing someone describe something like, oh, and then what happened? He went ATM. Oh, exciting. But it seems so strange for Natalie to like want her to write it down in
And
her
she's
own diary.
disappointed later on when she's like,
Just
oh
to
no,
call
what's my
that.
diary going to think?
Yeah.
So sad. So sad. But Blair is glad that Joe didn't tell this guy to blow the weekend out his crankcase, which is apparently something that she has told several men before. And that is a weird thing to say even once. Take this weekend, blow it out your crankcase.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
I
gonna.
imagine
That was good. I'm gonna tell that to the next guy I don't want to fuck.
well, I imagine that it's a car part. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like butthole.
I guess that's. I guess that is where I keep my cranks.
In your butthole.
Yeah, they're all stored in there.
Mm-hmm.
Tootie, Joe says that Jason is different, and she lists all his attributes exactly the way that Blair and Natalie did when they liked boys. He's smart, he's funny, he's different. And then the third one is specific. So for Joe, he knows a lot about bikes.
Yeah.
And Tootie adds that he goes to Yale, which in 2 minutes they've said as many times as somebody who goes to Yale would say it. So basically, this episode is like like it went to Yale because it can't stop bragging about it going to Yale.
Yeah. It also this scene felt like watching people who not only have terrible hearing, but also have some sort of attention deficit disorder. So they're like, not only are they not hearing
scene in this episode,
not only are they not hearing one another, they're not communicating in any way, meaningful way, but they're also re-saying the same things over and over again.
It's like two writers.
It's like watching two people who don't, who are like trying to relay the exact same story to one another over and over again.
Yeah.
In a slightly different way.
To me,
and that's
it's
why
like
they
Linda
thought
Marsh.
They needed two episodes of this.
Yeah, Linda Marsh wrote what she thought one of the girls would say to Joe about her college week, and then Margie Peters wrote it as well. They looked at it, they were like, these are similar,
But we
But
can't get rid of these.
no,
These are
we
both.
need
I
to
can't
use both. Give
choose.
one to Tootie, give one to Natalie. We'll have them say them back to back in the same opening scene, and we'll do this several times throughout the episode because we now have to make this 2 episodes long.
Wait, so is that how conversations work? Is that how dialogue works when we just keep saying the exact same thing over and over again?
I mean, how else do we have 2 hour long podcasts about a 22-minute episode of Facts of Life?
This one was not 22 minutes. This was an hour.
And this podcast will probably not be 2 hours. So anyway, Joe finally relents and says, yes, okay, it's a college weekend. I've never done it before. Everybody should try it once. I might as well try it. Natalie, this is where she asks for her to put it in her diary. But also, she wants to know what it's like. What
College.
if yeah, what college weekend is like. What it feels like when college weekend pulls out and comes on your tits.
It probably feels super exciting and new. And to be perfectly frank, Natalie is this sort of person who would expect to have to actually to think that having someone come on her tits is too respectful. She prefers it on the face.
Just like whip the dick. Give her a black eye if she can.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Garrett overhears this and is reminded of the time earlier in the scene 1 minute ago when she wanted to talk about sex with Joe.
Yeah.
But Tootie was there, and now Tootie's still there, and there's more girls there. And Mrs. Garrett's having the same exact, now Joe.
I know.
Like, this happened 1 minute ago. This is seriously the way that they doubled up. I know we're doubling up by saying it over and over again, but
Yeah, no,
it is ridiculous.
Yeah, so
this
Joe
just happened.
So Mrs. Garrett's like, I'm talking about when you get off the train. You're going to be there with other girls and boys, men almost, and you may feel certain pressures. And then Blair leans over and she goes, right, give in to them. And then Mrs. Garrett goes, Blair!
Mrs. Garrett's so mad.
And so, but again, it's like, it's as though Joe and again, they say in the episode, Joe's at the top of her class. She's doing really well. She's widely regarded as the incredibly smart scholarship kid, right?
Yeah.
She's the smartest one there. Apparently,
by a mile.
Apparently, though, she needs to have this explained to her 50 times in 100 different ways.
Well, we do see there is a point where when Mrs. Garrett finally gets to have this conversation with her, where we can see Joe's been basically placating her, knowing exactly what this conversation was going to be about and just trying to avoid it. But yes, Mrs. Garrett does think that she needs to explain everything. Blair does say she wasn't talking about giving into those sexual pressures, but giving into social pleasures.
Yeah.
Like fucking. But she explains further that if people ask if she belongs to a club, say yes, but don't let them know it's the Bronx Barbarians.
Yeah.
The Bronx Barbarians, by the way, was not a thing until 2016 when a group of badasses started the Bronx Barbarians YouTube page. It's a bunch of Bronx dudes and their friends just working out.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the past. Yeah, we've talked about this in the past because unfortunately, the Bronx Barbarians is continuity for this show.
Yep.
They bring that back up.
I know. I think it's somebody maybe they just want Blair to have a misunderstanding.
But she could have just said, maybe like the automobile club or, the motorcycle club.
Diners Club.
There's
lots of options for jokes that aren't the Bronx Barbarians, but reuse it. Why not? Continuity, I love it. So Tootie comes over and asks Mrs. Garrett if she's talking about sex again. Good. Because Tootie does know. Because Tootie has been through more than anybody.
Yes, that's true.
Mrs. Garrett shorts out and says she has some shit to do before she takes Joe to the station. And then she just starts giggling like a weirdo and then strangles Tootie in the air and then just grabs her face. And it's like, why are you mad that this girl knows what sex is when she has had to battle off predator after predator?
I don't know. I can't answer that. None of this makes sense.
Anyway, but the grabbing her face was super weird. So Blair reminisces about the good old days when Joe was the ugly one in her flared jeans, but now she's attracted to the attention of a Yaley.
Yeah.
Tootie points out that the tight jeans might be the reason for that. Also, might be the reason for that yeast infection.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, this is, that's the thing about this is that we're only on, I'm on literally the second page of my notes. I can't. We need to keep moving on because we need to meet Meg. And is she coming in? Is Meg coming in? Is Meg coming in hot? Meg's coming in.
It's coming in a second. I said this in my notes. I wrote in all caps. I still don't understand why Joe is dressed like this. Joe proclaims life's been going really smooth. Natalie hops up like a crazy person, says she's tempting the fates. The fates will hear her. They will fuck up her life.
Yeah.
And then Joe reiterates once again all the things we know about her life.
Yeah.
Listing it out one more time, and Natalie tries to discount them all to the fates. It's weird and neurotic, and that's when a blonde lady enters the cafeteria and asks if anyone feels like running away. I bet you do.
Yeah. And the great thing is that, again, it's like, so in comes this random person, and it's Blair's stepsister. And she goes, you look gorgeous. And then she goes, doesn't she look gorgeous? And Natalie, because apparently she forgot how to be fucking polite like a normal human, she goes, yeah, who are you? What the fuck is this? You go, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Natalie. This is Tootie. You don't go, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I feel like you might.
No, do not call me the Natalie of this podcast.
You're the superstar of this podcast. So let's talk about Meg. She is played by Eve Plum. As we mentioned earlier, she's best known for inspiring the name of the 90s alt-rock band Eve's Plum. She also was known for originating the role of Jan Brady. Were you an Eve's Plum fan?
Eve's Plum, the 90s band?
Yeah.
I did not know that it existed, and I actually thought you were going to say Eve 6.
Oh, no.
You're like, oh, no, never. Why would I ever bring
Did you know Vitamin C, that girl with the orange hair?
Mm-hmm.
So before she was just Vitamin C, she was the front woman of Eve's Plum, which was a much more guitar-y version of Vitamin C, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, you might like them. Like sort of Riot girly.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they're fun. Anyway, she's but Eve Plum, not Eve's Plum, is also known for originating the role of Jan Brady, as well as being the only Brady cast member not to partake in the Brady Variety Hour.
Oh, wow. Did she have better things to do, like shoot this episode of Facts of Life for no reason?
She was back in the Brady fold by this time. So this was shortly after the Brady Bunch ended. They were putting them all on a 5-year contract to do a variety show. And she was like, I don't want to do 5 years of this. And everybody else was like, come on, do it. She's like, can we just do like 1 year? And the show ended up being 1 year. And they got a fake Jan, who is now known. Jan, I'm sure she's conventions and signs things as fake Jan. But then real Jan, Eve Plum, was like ready to go back in the fold for the Brady Brides. I think it was the Brady Girls Get Married, and then the Brady Brides was a sitcom spinoff of the Brady Girls Get Married. And then, of course, she was still on the show for the sophisticated Bradys of 1990, where she was still married to the same guy that she married in the Brady Brides in '82, right before she did this. So she was already back as a Brady by the time she did this.
So what you're saying is that she rejected the idea of being involved with the Brady variety show because she thought it was going to take too long. It was going to be 5 years.
Well, the contract said that like she couldn't do anything but that for 5 years if the show was a success. And,
that's what I feel like right now, being trapped in this.
That's why when I was like, we're almost done with the season, we could take a break if you'd like. And you're like, no break, just keep them coming. I need this to be over with as fast as possible.
The biggest regret of my life was agreeing to just to power through.
We are getting through, though. Like, we are almost done with season 4. And honestly, it is like We've gotten through the Brussels sprouts. We've gotten through the green beans, and I can see that pie on the horizon, and it is got croissants all over it.
Yeah, no. See, it's so I'm the exact opposite. I would have been like, God, we've been waiting through all this goddamn pie for 4 goddamn years. Where are the Brussels sprouts? Please, I need some fiber. Please just give me some fiber. I haven't shit for years.
This is your fiber. God is dead. This is your fiber.
This is no fiber. There's no
Well,
fiber
then
here.
you're gonna be disappointed because things are gonna get weird. All right. So other things that Eve Plum has done. She got her start in the mid '60s on shows like My Brother, The Angel, The Big Valley, The Virginian, and Lassie. Did you know Lassie was a commercial for soup?
No.
My ex just texted me this just randomly. Good ex, not crazy ex. Lassie, every single episode of Lassie, apparently, if my ex is to be believed, has them eating Campbell's soup in it. And it
Is
was
it
all a subliminal Campbell soup. Campbell soup was their only sponsor, and it was like a whole early synergy thing. So Lassie is a soup commercial.
so it's soup made out of dogs?
Yes.
Dog soup.
Depending on what flavor you get.
Okay.
Although mostly all dog broth based.
Mhm.
All right, so let's see now. After her Brady years, she found herself playing Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, which I think you're familiar with.
No.
Oh, it's like a child prostitute TV movie that was famous and scandalous in the 70s. I'm surprised you don't know about it.
So is this like is this some sort of weird stunt casting? Because that's kind of fun to have the teenage runaway who becomes a little like, street slut. Um
I mean,
and
it is, but it's stunt casting from the Brady. It's like fun to think of the Brady girl as becoming a nun, I think. But yeah,
honestly
I mean, I think she was stunt casted as the
run,
Dawn.
running away from being a wealthy wasp to the nunnery.
That's correct. She played Beth in the Little Women miniseries. She was 3 characters on both the Love Boat and Fantasy Island, so 6 characters on 2 shows. She went back to her roots. Brady Girls got married. Brady Brides. After this, she did an episode of the show Masquerade. She played Tug in an episode of Murder, She Wrote, before she makes her major movie debut in I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Took her a while to get into movies, but she did. More Brady stuff. Very Brady Christmas, The Dramatic Brady. She played the mom in the Judy Blume TV series Fudge.
No.
Are you a Fudge fan?
No.
No.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like Judy Blume fudge and I don't like chocolate fudge.
I love all fudge. I love it when it's not chocolate. Like, um, I went to the Jelly Belly factory
Mhm.
in
I know.
Wisconsin, and they had buttered popcorn jelly bean flavored fudge, and it was my favorite thing I've ever eaten. I think about it all the time.
That's disgusting. I
I actually
I
bought buttered
actually almost
popcorn extract.
I almost vomited just now thinking about that
Well,
because the buttered popcorn jelly beans are one of the most disgusting foods ever created, and the fact that they then put it into the a fudge form, which is one of the worst mouthfeels possible,
I love
I
that mouthfeel.
is offensive to me.
Oh, it was. I was supposed to. I had a friend who was like, "Please save me a piece because that sounds right up my alley." And I had like a huge brick of it, and I could not. I could not. I remember the night that I had the little nugget left. I was like, "No, I'm gonna eat it. I'm sorry." I loved it so much. I bought. As I mentioned, I bought buttered popcorn extract in the hopes that I would make it, but I have never made fudge, and I have not found a recipe for buttered popcorn fudge either. But it seems like something I'll do soon. Anyway,
Yeah,
she was
we're there. We're there in pandemic.
she was the original Mrs. Burkhart on one episode of that '70s show before she was replaced, and she's been in Law and Order, SVU, Grease Live, Blue Bloods, Crashing. Last year she did an episode of Bull. She paints in her spare time. That's
Bull,
what I have on her.
Bull, that amazing CBS courtroom drama about a man who is an expert in jury picking.
I've never seen Bull, not 1 second of my life.
I mean, I think that's what it is. I'm
That
pretty sure.
sounds right. All right, so let's back to the show. Blair introduces Meg to the gang.
Yeah.
And Tootie walks up and gets close to Blair's face. I thought they were going to kiss. And she's like, Blair, you don't have a sister. It was so weird.
Yeah, this is some weird, stupid runner for the rest of the episode.
Because it's so hilarious.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, she could have had a sister. Like, we never had. Did we have the conversation when she was like? I mean, she probably has said, "I'm an only child" many times, and then they were like, "Fuck, how do we do this? Oh, we'll make a runner out of it."
Yeah.
I bet that's what happened.
Yeah, and then, but again,
I want to be like a forensic detective for sitcoms because I need to understand how this happened.
But again, the weird thing is, who gives a shit if who this person is? You don't have to. It's like then Joe doubles down on this, being like, okay, wait a minute. Are you two related or not? I'm not leaving. I'm not going on my college weekend until we clear this up, because I can't get out of here until I understand the relationship between you two girls. Can I fuck both of you?
Yeah. It was interesting.
And then it's like, in comes Mrs. Garrett and they try to explain it. It's like, so no, she was married to my mom's dad. No, she was married to her second mom. And it's like, oh, come on.
They're related by love and trouble.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things that they're related by. Mm-hmm. So Blair tries to act real tough and cool. She's bragging about the time she and Meg ran away. Yeah. Which explains Meg's opening line retroactively, which doesn't make it funnier.
No.
But the fuckers only went to the guest house.
As I said to you, the pitch for this episode is, what if the poor little rich girl is running away to the convent, not being sent to the convent? That is the joke here. That's the giant irony. The giant, obvious, completely hammer in the forehead irony of this episode. Who in their right mind would want to go to the nunnery to become a nun? Not apparently Meg, but again, unclear about any of the real motivation behind it.
Yes.
What kind of nun is she? Is she Catholic nun? Protestant nun? Buddhist nun?
It doesn't matter. She's none of the above.
Exactly. And no one put any thought into this.
So Joe calls it when she asks if she brought 2 suitcases and a garment bag when she ran away to the guest house.
Yeah.
And that's because Joe looks stunned. She's like, "How did you know?" But Joe's been witness to many of Blair's suitcase prop humor bits.
We
like
all have.
times. Yes.
We all have. It's the only thing they let her do. That's the only comedy that Blair ever gets, is fumbling around with all of her annoying suitcases.
Yeah, so there's so much repeating in this episode. This stresses me out when somebody leaves the room. Like, just keep everybody in the room, because if somebody leaves the room, whatever happens when they're not in the room has to get caught up on, which is the case when Mrs. Garrett comes in. Yeah. We do the whole comedy bit about all the things that we know about Blair's sister and their, relation by blood or love or...
But Blair, you don't have a sister!
Just shut up and go. It feels like this episode will not start.
Yeah. And then Joe and Mrs. Garrett get the hell on the, Mrs. Garrett's like, well, I got to get you to your gangbang. We're going to be late for that. Let's get the hell show on the road. I'll talk about that in the car on the way. And then Blair's like, you hungry? Why don't you come? I'll make you one of my famous banana peanut butter sandwiches. When was this a thing?
I mean, I love peanut butter banana sandwich.
Yeah, all men do.
Do they?
Yes.
Do all women not?
No, I'm sure that they do, but it's all the men I know in my life love bananas and peanut butter.
There's a Haagen-Dazs flavor that's, I think it's called peanut butter banana chunk, and it's banana ice cream with like that salty, hard peanut butter swirl, and then just really good dark chocolate chunks. It's top notch. And it says on the label, it says part of the Indulgent collection.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, all the other flavors from the Indulgent collection disappeared like 5 years ago. So it is the only member of the Indulgent collection.
The Indulgent collection.
Yeah, I think about it every time I buy it, and I buy it a lot. I have so many ice creams in my freezer right now.
I know. You've sent me photos of your freezer, and it looks like you're a mom in the Midwest preparing for tornado season with your for your second freezer in the garage. It's just like bursting with like Turkey Hill and dryers. That's like your backup shit. And then it's like,
Fuck no.
whoa, whoa, whoa. No. That's just backup. The real good stuff that lives inside with me. This is the Haagen-Dazs Indulgent collection. This is the Ben. This is the Jerry's. This is the Jennies.
Yeah, those are the three that are in there, yes. So we're out of that scene, although it is continuous. So we're kind of not. It does feel like purgatory. So we're in the kitchen. Blair and Meg are catching up. Meg hasn't reached out in over a year, actually missing Blair's birthday.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but, you know, Meg's got a pretty good response. She gives her a bank book and the keys to her MG.
Yeah. And Blair's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, it's cool. You could have called, but like you don't need to give me your bank book and the sports car. The sports car would have been enough."
Yeah. And then Meg's like, you know how back in college I could never settle on a major?
Yeah. As though that's what this is.
Yeah. I was like, I mean, because she's not setting me up to be that supportive of whatever she's about to say.
Exactly.
You know how I'm flippant about my interests.
So that, and then she says, I've for the past year, I've been involved in something that requires a lot of training, and I need to relinquish my worldly possessions. And
sure sounds like she's joining a cult.
It sounds like I was like, oh, if I didn't know, because you described this as this is the very special episode where Jo thinks she might want to become a nun. I thought this was going to be some sort of weird cult or like, predatory, like multi-level marketing company type thing. Like it was going to be some stupid, like she's deciding to follow some new spiritual guru and it's like actually really trying to save her from, a predator, rather than just her being like, I want to be married to God. Because the way that it's described, at least now, is it sounds creepy and vague.
Oh, it's very vague. Everything about it is so vague. And it's also very creepy. She's not doing a good job of teasing this very well. Yeah. And so Blair guesses that she's joining a convent, even though that wouldn't have been my jump. And she's like, no, it's a formation house, which I believe is similar to a TikTok house, but religious.
No, she goes, it sounds like you're joining a convent. And Meg goes, you got it. She goes, I am. But actually, we call it a reformation house. And she's like,
just a formation house. I learned about that.
Oh, formation house. Yes, you're right. I'll be living there with the sisters, and then in 3 months, I'll enter the novitiate. And it's just like, okay, so these writers did this amount of research. They got 2 things correct. They got formation house and novitiate.
They had a consultant on set for that one line.
They don't talk about God or anything or what it's like to be a nun ever again. Ever again.
They talk about all the sex she's not going to have.
Yeah.
It's interesting that Lisa Welchel finds this so incredulous and hilarious when she's like the actual religious one of the cast. Mm-hmm. But when Natute asks when and how, Blair asks why with this real nice fuck you smile, which apparently makes Meg feel complete.
Yeah, she said, I finally found something that makes me feel complete, which in my mind is, Jesus's ghost dick. But like, okay, fine, but like, Natoots are completely intrigued, and Tootie weirdly says how romantic.
Yes, I think she
Everyone,
has a slightly
everyone,
alternate definition of romantic.
everyone has the wrong reaction to the news of a person you didn't know existed 5 minutes before this happened.
Yeah,
Have
they're all in,
And they're
all in.
like really, they're like invested in it, you know, and
Well,
like, but
I liked that when Tootie says that it's so romantic. Natalie takes an even bigger leap. She's like, "You think hanging out with lepers is romantic?"
yeah. And then she's like, but they're always romantic in the movies. Julie Andrews, Sally Field. What kind of nun are you going to be? Singing or flying? And then
Yeah,
she just says,
Natalie's suddenly on board.
teaching, I hope.
Is that a nun? There's teaching nuns?
Yeah, like in a Catholic school,
No,
the one that Joe was so like, the one that Joe's favorite old teacher from her convent days, the one that looks like Ernest Borgnine.
Nat tells her she doesn't look like a
And
nun.
But again, the other thing is that she wants to be a teaching nun. I wouldn't say that anyone, especially in 1983 when this was written and aired, has a very good memory or association with Catholic school teachers and nuns who taught them,
Well, Joe did.
aside from Joe, because they were apparently mean as shit and never let her get away with anything.
She liked that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than she seemed to be into it. But maybe she just likes the discipline. She likes being told what to do because in her love life, that's usually that goes the opposite way.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least my theory. But yeah. So Natalie is like, you don't look like a nun. You look like you could. And she gives like a dot dot dot, and Meg's
Catch a
like,
dick.
catch a dick. That's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah. And she's like, and she goes very quietly, like, I could get a date. Yeah. And it's like, and then like, um, doesn't is Blair brings up like, what do you think Paul thinks about this? And it's like, Paul, what? Who's Paul? Paul? Who's Paul? Who's this Paul you're talking about? Oh, Paul is her fiance, ex-fiance. And
Judy
it's
is
like,
furious by
she's
this
like,
news.
well, I should hope so. And it's like, again, these little girls are being incredibly invasive with a person they have never met before
Who I
about.
think is really opening up to them about real personal shit. She has to literally tell them all that basically Paul tried to fuck the nun out of her, and when he couldn't, he left her.
Yeah.
And
And then
everybody's like,
Natalie says,
"Oh,
yeah, and it's like very romantic. It's like, well, she's like, well, Natalie explains, she's like, Paul had some really pretty heavy competition, meaning Jesus.
yeah,
What?
Jesus's ghost stick."
Yeah, but again, what message is this?
We stay tuned. You'll find out.
No, the message is that and again, that we get to at the end is, you can, a woman should be able to do whatever the hell she wants to do with her body, including becoming a nun,
Yes,
except when it's your friends.
yes. Well, I think they are trying to say. No, yeah, yeah, that's what they're trying to say. So in reality, Tootie thinks that if it makes Meg happy, it should make her parents happy. But Blair points out that being a nun is not the Americone dream.
Yeah. I wrote down absolutely one of the most batshit sentences I have ever heard on television. Face it, Tootie. Becoming a nun, it's not like becoming a nun is the American dream.
Well, I mean, her parents want her to see her married with a bunch of kids, not singing backup for Whoopi Goldberg. Blair says that Meg always does stuff for shock value, so this is in line with that. It's just like that time that she swore off caviar to piss off her dad.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And I had to, I had to like see that poor man watch you eat nothing but liverwurst sandwiches. You're just the same little willful, stubborn little brat.
So
And then they're like, and then the Toots shame Blair being like, Blair, you shouldn't talk to a nun like that. And then Tootie shames her saying she shouldn't talk to anyone like that.
it's true. But like, why liverwurst sandwiches? Like, she swore off of caviar. Fine. I don't know why that would upset your parents because it seems like it's expensive, but sure. Let's say that they're caviar farmers or whatnot. Why only liverwurst sandwiches?
Because
Why?
living an ascetic like life. That's a poor person's food. So she's basically wearing like a hair
But there's
shirt.
also there's other food.
Yeah, but
There-
she's in her family's mind, she seems like she's being overly penitent.
Sure, but what I'm saying is like then she didn't just give up caviar. She gave up all food but liverwurst sandwiches.
Yeah, because she's like,
Caviar
this is
should
the
not be a headline in there.
no, but again, it's because the writers of the show are completely not creative and unimaginative, and they went directly to liverwurst sandwiches as the polar opposite from caviar.
This story makes no sense. Blair calls Meg a spoiled brat. Nat chastises her for talking to a nun like that. Um, I gotta agree that Blair's really not liking the idea of someone that she hasn't seen for like a year finding God seems a little intense.
Yeah, it really is ridiculous because again, it's like, you know, it as I said, everyone has the most bizarre reactions to news that they just learned about, for Blair at least, someone she hasn't heard from in a year, who isn't related to her. And then for Natoots, are basically a stranger and they're full in on the nun stuff. They're like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, you should be a nun. You already seem like a nun, even though you're way too hot to be a nun. But whatever, you should be a nun. If you want to be a nun,
you
be
could
a
be a
nun.
hot nun.
I
That's your
love it.
thing.
I love nun life for you. Nun life forever. Meg, hashtag nun life. It's like, anyway. But then
Well, I
Blair,
mean, none of these reactions are as good as her parents' reaction.
well, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Um, sorry. um, is that she calls her insane, selfish, and this is just killing your parents.
Yeah, well, our parents called her a liar and a lesbian.
Yeah.
And the look of shock on the girls' faces when they hear the word lesbian is priceless. They're like, "Can you say that on this show?"
Yeah. They cut to Natoots and it was like fucking Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Like, woo! Like their heads spun around.
Yeah, it was great.
It
Um,
was actually like, that's the thing, is that I've kind of felt like this is really what like the burying of the lead of this is, because they wanted to talk about lesbianism. They wanted to talk about the fear of no grandchildren. Oh my God. But she's not a lesbian, is she? No, it's worse. She's a nun.
or maybe it is they were just subtly trying to say, like, you know how nuns are all lesbians?
Yeah,
Well, Joe's gonna want to be one because
yeah,
you
exactly.
Anyway, and then so Meg hoped that being the debutante nun might appeal to Blair's sense of whimsy. It appeals to mine. That could be a good show to pitch.
Debutante nun. And
Hmm.
debutante nun and what is she called? What is she called, Joe? Um, brawler nun.
I have it in my notes later. I know what you're talking about, but I cannot remember the exact adjective she used. It wasn't brawler though, but something like
It
that.
was like Street Fighter nun or something. But it was and it's sort of like, to be honest, debutante nun and Street Fighter nun, as like a buddy nun show. I would watch that.
Yeah, I would watch that too. And honestly, I know they're making a third sister act right now.
They are.
Put that in there,
Yeah.
free of charge.
Speaking of, that's the thing I was thinking about, like, the odd reaction that Tootie had to this being like, oh yeah, that's so romantic to being a nun. So that's insane and ridiculous because the whole point of The Sound of Music is that she doesn't become a nun because she falls in love with Baron von Trapp, and he rescues her from a dickless life.
I wish somebody would rescue me from a dickless life.
So, and also, but again, the other thing is that, oh, then maybe about like, oh, she might be a flying nun, like the Sally Field show that was on in the 60s and 70s for what, 3 years, where that's literally it. She's just a flying nun. That's not romantic. That's whimsical. I'll give you
But,
that, Pootie.
but like birds are very romantic. Love birds. It's an expression.
Yeah,
I'm stretching.
but the fly again. There's nothing romantic about this.
To each his own.
Okay.
So, yeah, Blair plainly points out there's no whimsy in a life of poverty.
Yeah,
and I am here
true.
to tell you that is not true at all.
There's a lot of whimsy in poverty.
There's a lot of whimsy in my life, and I have been near poverty in my days, and the whimsy never stopped.
Did you ever consider becoming a nun?
No. And then so anyway, so there's no whimsy in a life of poverty, and then Natalie says there's no whimsy in a life of chastity either. That I'll pretty much agree with.
Yeah.
Blair calls her stupid and selfish, and Meg's parents want grandchildren. She doesn't know why that would be so terrible. Why does Blair care so much, not even related to this person? She like went years without talking to her, without even like noticing.
Yeah.
Meg starts getting worked up. Just take the
Because
damn bank book in the car and let me get on with my life.
because this is a crypto episode about lesbianism.
Much like our pilot. Anyway, so is this how this works? Basically, I'm going to give you the keys to my car, and I'm going to give you my bank book. And now you have all my money, and you legally have my car. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm going away to a place where there's no phones. I'm a nun.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's
exactly how
but
this
it's
works.
probably not easy to get them on the phone in a time pre-cell phone. Can nuns have cell phones?
No.
Okay.
Not in 1983 they couldn't.
No, I know not then. I'm just like now, do they have them?
I'm sure.
All right.
Maybe for emergencies.
I don't know, like, I Googled, there's a point when I Googled, and I can't even remember because there's so many weird notes, but I Googled, do nuns eat pizza?
And what did you
And,
discover? Yes. Because are there Italian nuns? Yeah.
well, here's the thing. Mostly, the response was no, nuns are not supposed to eat anything delicious, which is so sad.
Did a pizza write that?
Well, then somebody was like, well, I am from this convent, and we have sausage and pizza nights, separate 2 nights, and those are both very delicious. That was the response. So I was like, okay, I don't have the answer. But one of the other things Google fills in, like gives you like top questions people ask.
Do nuns blah blah blah? Yeah.
Yeah, one of them was, do nuns have their period?
Good question.
Yes, is the answer.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, because they don't get pregnant, they have it more than most people.
That's true.
That was the answer, though. I mean, I paraphrased how it was said, but that was that was the conclusion that the answer came up with.
More frequent menses because of no babies in there.
It's precise.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So like, there would have to be some kind of transfer of title or something, right, to get this car?
Yeah, not only a transfer of title for the car, but also your entire bank account. You can't just be like, oh, here's my checkbook, because like if I just gave you my checkbook, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna sign yourself, be like, oh, here to Dominik, and then fake sign my name.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even have a bank book. I have like my checkbook.
Yeah. But again, none of this is so fucking lazy and stupid.
Well, that's the facts of life.
Yeah.
So Blair's being totally crazy, says that what Meg is doing is crazy. and that she is not going to stand there and watch her throw her life away. And then the camera slowly pans in on Meg for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of holding in this.
A
Um,
lot of hope. That's
and
another
then
one of the tricks to make it 2 episodes.
and then we go to the cafeteria, Meg is sitting there, and Natalie says that Blair won't come down. She mentioned something about, when hell freezes over, and then she's like, "Oh, sorry, no offense." And it's like,
Yeah.
there's
Hmm.
just going to be a lot of that. There's going to be like that, and this is where like this might have actually been where I was at my lowest during this episode,
Yeah,
because I
because it's
thought,
early
"Oh
on and
no,
it feels like this is endless.
it feels unrepentant, unrelenting, and unrepentant." To be perfectly frank.
Tootie's no longer wearing her apron, so we're finally able to fully appreciate her seafoam green and pink three-dimensional kite sweater, which
Hmm.
is as insane as Blair is being this episode.
Yeah.
Meg might as well head off to the retreat, which Tootie mistakes that she's going to retreat.
And she says, "No, you should hold your ground." So
So,
apparently, at this is the point where Tootie apparently lost the ability to understand how what words mean.
yes. Yeah. I mean, they did put her in that like 3-year-old sweater, so maybe she was just
But
trying out a new character.
I just wrote down like this was again, as I said, like this was kind of where I hit my breaking point, because I just wrote down this is so significantly underwritten that they're
Mhm.
just like it's just they're stretching like nothing, like air and sand. It's like this is like garbage.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote that Tootie learns a new word, and the writers got to use up 30 more seconds,
Yeah.
so leave it in. Meg is going to take some time to decide if she's not handling things right and how she's telling people the news. I think she's doing a fine job, honestly.
Yeah, to be
I think
perfectly
it's
frank.
everybody else around her that's being insane.
Yes. Because that's the thing
Um,
is that it's like I honestly she seems very like grounded and normal. you know, for wanting to sign away her entire life to, silent to contemplating her relationship with God, you know. Um
Tootie
that
makes another one of her classic cracks that Blair's sister's going to be a sister, and the laugh track is like, no.
yeah.
Like, I know that there were actually people in the audience, and that is why the audience response is, huh. Like they seemed so fed up, like they were just informed between scenes. Oh, and just so you guys know, this is a two-parter, so we're gonna be shooting twice as long tonight. And now the audience is like, oh God.
I know, and that's the thing. And then fucking Mrs. Garrett and Joe re-enter, and they're like, and for no reason they're back, you know
Yes.
and
Well,
and
before Joe comes back, Meg says that she's gonna have to come back on Sunday at the end of college weekend, so that we understand that look who's back. It's Joe, and college weekend situation is all being brought back to the
yeah.
forefront. Joe's doing the old routine from Paris where Mrs. G, formerly David, won't let her fix the car, even though we know she can do it.
Yeah.
Why
And
not? Because she's dressed too nice. She's
yeah.
not. I've never seen Joe look worse.
Yeah.
If she
No.
showed up to Paul's dorm in some ripped sweater with grease stains on it, he would be so ready to take her to Pound Town.
Yeah.
That's
No, and
shit. That's
it's
why
the
she got invited up. She's a
no,
grease monkey lady.
yes, no, it's the reason why she can't Mrs. Garrett isn't letting her fix the car is because she's wearing a skirt and she's worried that people will look up her panties. That's why.
Anyway, this just excites Natalie enough to get into Joe's face and point out that car problems are the fates' favorite thing.
Yeah. God, and it's like, and then like Joe does this whole thing where she was like, "Yeah, no, it was really great. Like, it was cool hanging out with the tow truck driver. I'm gonna be best friends with the tow truck driver. He's so cool. I love the tow truck driver. He was even giving us all these like really dirty, dirty, dirty jokes, like that one, that old one about the old married couple who visits a sex therapist because it's been 3 weeks since."
I like how she specifically has never, like, she barely knows Meg whatsoever. There's a room filled with friends of hers, but she delivers this joke in Meg's face. Like,
And
I'm
then,
going to only tell Meg this joke. And
yeah,
so Natalie has to be like, oh, Meg's a nun. So Joe stops mid-joke.
because, oh my
Hilarity does
God,
not ensue.
because nuns have no sense of humor.
How dirty was this joke going to get?
How dirty was it? 3 weeks since they last had sex?
I mean, there had to be more. That's not very funny.
Yeah, but then, and it's like, again, and that's the thing is that then it inspires Meg to say, very wisely and sagely, isn't it funny how certain words get that same reaction, like nun or pregnant?
And Joe flips out because you cannot say those two words together.
What is happening?
I don't know. Meanwhile, Mrs. Garrett is like, so, you're going to be a sister.
Yeah.
I wonder how many potential nuns this episode stopped from entering the formation house.
I would hope, I hope this saved millions of lives. This was so stupid and also just, it was so vague and like unrelenting. And it's sort of like, yeah, because, isn't it funny how certain words get that same reaction like nun or pregnant? And it's like, no, it doesn't. No, being a nun, no one gives a shit. Go be a nun. No one's going to stop you. Apparently, this is some giant scourge. All these young women deciding to not have sex and have a close personal relationship with God? No fucking way.
Well, apparently, that's what Meg is used to. She told her parents, and they locked her away.
Yeah, because, little off the beaten track, because today women want to become doctors, lawyers, and astronauts.
What about pilots, Mrs. Garrett?
Well,
You're an
yeah,
actual pilot. Why don't you throw that in the mix?
but again, it's like it's so annoying because it's like it's this weird case that these writers are trying to make, which is, being a sister is way down on the list of career choices for women. It's somewhere after lion tamer, as though this is some insane choice.
Yeah,
No one decides to become a nun like they're going to be a lion tamer. It's not something you follow out of whimsy.
even if lion tamer is not whimsy, but like I am, brought into a family of lion tamers, regardless, there's definitely way less lion tamers than there are nuns.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is just
What's the
weird
case?
anti-nun propaganda.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing that's why this episode is so stupid and annoying, is because no one is here. This is one of the conflicts of this fucking show, is that no one is trying to prevent you from no normal person would be like, no, please don't become a nun.
I know.
In Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta's brother comes home because he decides he does not want to become a priest, and his mother almost kills herself. She's so upset because he's decided to leave the church. People don't freak out about people being like, you know what? I actually want to pursue a life of, asceticism and quiet contemplation of my relationship with God. It's not like, no, you need to eat caviar. No liverwurst for you. What are you talking about?
This is for a specific sect of people. This two-part episode is for the 1%.
Yeah, all those people worried about their kids. None?
Apparently so. So Joe thinks this is great. Joe is thrilled about this. A nun is the best thing you can be, according to nuns. Sister Frances Imelda was incredible. Joe's first lover. It was like she could read her mind, what she needed sexually. It was great. And then Mrs. Garrett goes to check the train schedule, and Tootie goes, Joe, you can't miss your first college weekend. It would be a sin. A couple things on this. It would be a sin? Were you the Pet Shop Boys? Tootie doesn't talk like that. Second of all,
crime.
And second of all, Mrs. Garrett is checking the train schedule. Nobody is talking about canceling the trip, Tootie. You're just stretching because this episode should not be 2 parts.
No, I know. It's so annoying. And so Mrs. Garrett is like looking at the fucking train schedule, whatever. Yeah, and then Meg decides to do this thing where she's like, she recounts her first college weekend, right? Because, she went and her date was the starting quarterback, and then she does a fucking like Chico's mom shoulder shimmy, being like,
Made great passes.
he threw great passes. So it's like clear that she has been around the block. She's sucked a dick, and she's decided not the life for her. Not the
Yeah,
life for her.
she's even college weekended in the butt.
Yeah. So she's like, I actually prefer to not do that.
So apparently it's official. College weekend is a phrase in this world, and it means a 3-day sleepover with a college boy. It only sounds like sex and drinking and maybe drugs.
Yeah.
Joe is blown away that somebody has dated and maybe even fucked can still be a nun. Sister Frances Imelda was never penetrated, but she did look like Ernest Borgnine, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. So
Mrs. Garrett loved that joke.
Whoa.
She loved it.
One thing we need to talk about Ernest Borgnine. Ernest Borgnine.
That's what I was doing.
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say about Ernest Borgnine?
Oh, just how much Mrs. Garrett loved the Ernest Borgnine joke.
Oh, yes.
So she was like, Joe.
Ugh,
like
yeah,
it was directed right. So it was like for her age bracket. That joke.
It was.
Tell me all you can about Mr. B.
I can tell you not that much, but he's an Oscar winner for the film Marty. And he's very famous for his great sense of humor and his gap tooth smile. I think he was from New York, maybe Connecticut, somewhere. Anyway, but McHale's Navy, I think, wasn't that his big thing on TV? But I did look up that
I'm only familiar with the Tom Arnold version.
Okay.
It's true.
So Ernest Borgnine, one small fact about him is that he was married 5 times and here's the thing. Joe is giving Sister Frances a dig, saying that Ernest Borgnine is a dog, right? Ernest Borgnine could get it. He was married to Ethel Merman for 42 days, apparently, and according to I think her memoir, all they did was hurl profane insults at one another.
That sounds fun.
For a month. Can you imagine just 2 very loud, angry comedians being like, you look like the underside of my ass, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess we should get divorced, Fun while it lasted.
Yes. Well, I enjoyed that little trip. So I did not know they were married. So anyway, the inevitability finally struck Meg, and she's like, I'm literally going exactly where you're going, and I'm going to be there for the exact length of time that you're going to be there. Really works out well. Very coincidental, but they tried to set it up as subtly as possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so she'll bring Joe back at the end of the weekend. She has to come back anyway. She has to work things out with Blair. She gets a real dramatic head turn away from Mrs. Garrett that tells us this scene is over.
And when they pause 10 seconds, they hold 10 seconds on this. Yeah. It felt like an eternity.
It was very long. And now we're up in the girls' room. And Blair's reading something that I assume is not the Bible. We learn what it is shortly.
Yes.
And Mrs. Garrett comes in to announce that college weekend is almost over because it's Sunday evening at 9:30, and every Sunday at 8 o'clock her watch stops, so she just wants to know what time it is, which is 9:30, which means that college weekend is over. And now we are oriented. Thanks for that detour into stupidity.
Yeah. For no reason. She could have literally just come in and been like, "Hi Blair, how's it going? It's Sunday night. Did you get enough for your supper? Oh, what are you reading?" We didn't need a whole thing about like some nonsense like, "Oh, every weekend my watch stops. What time is it?" No.
Yeah, she could have literally been like, "Hey,
I'm just checking in.
Your fake sister is going to be here in a little bit. Are you okay to talk to her?"
Yeah, no.
That would have been nice and normal, right? But no, and it's what's funny is she says every Sunday at 8, her watch stops, and I paused my notes, and I wrote that down, and then I wrote, like clockwork. And then I unpaused it, and she went, like clockwork. And I was like,
Ugh,
oh, God, I'm in their head.
yeah. They're in
Uh,
our head.
yeah, that's a better way to phrase it. So we learned that Blair's reading The Exorcist for research because her sister is possessed by
Hmm.
God. Also, Blair is wearing thigh-high maroon leather high-heeled boots in bed while reading The Exorcist. What the actual fuck?
I enjoyed the boots. The boots are very nice. I enjoyed. Here's the funny thing
It's
is that
Sunday night at 9:30. Why are you wearing boots like that? You're all the
I,
way upstairs in bed reading a book.
so she's reading
I'm
The
getting
Exorcist.
off.
So the interesting thing about this is so she's reading The Exorcist, which came out in what 71 or something. Um, and the movie came out in 73, and it was a huge. The film was a huge deal. The book was a bestseller. Um, and I think that this episode, because of all the weird things that it kind of touches on, I do think that this was kind of inspired by um, like the early 80s, like satanic panic that was happening in terms just of like little kids. Like, so that in like 82, there was the Tylenol murders. Like, there were all these like supposedly like
Somebody
killer
murdered
clowns.
Tylenol?
No, there are people. So the reason why all of the anything over the counter and any food that is sold has to have a protection label underneath the cap or whatever is because they didn't have that before, and so some mysterious person started tampering with aspirin or Tylenol, and so it killed like random people just started dying in the Midwest because some person just decided that they wanted to just kill people and create a panic. Anyway, at this time, no, this was very like there were a lot of like, yeah, as I said, satanic panic stuff in the early 80s that I think that this is kind of like inspired by because like little kids felt always like a little in peril. And this is like, we're not going to be in peril. We're going to send our nice young woman to the nunnery because she's being sane and safe. And so, but it's like, there's this, again, it's like Blair is talking about it as though she's possessed when she actually isn't. She's been possessed with her love of God, not Satan.
Love it. Blair has decided to take Meg to the country club so she can find a man to fuck the love of God out of her fake sister because nothing says renounce your God like an afternoon of rum punch and mixed doubles.
So yeah,
But
so this
Blair will think of something else. It's fine.
she's like, yeah, I know what I need to do. I need to take her to the country club so that so that what all she needs is she needs a really good dicking, right?
Yeah.
I mean a really good date,
Somebody who
whatever.
plays tennis.
Yeah. And then Mrs. Garrett says, you know, very annoying. She says, I don't think Meg's commitment to the church is going to be shaken by an afternoon of rum punch and mixed doubles. It sounded as though Mrs. Garrett had had quite a lot of rum punch before she decided to move on to
Puts
mixed
to say
doubles.
mixed doubles. Yeah, it was good. I liked that line. Mrs. Garrett will ask Blair to see Mrs. to see Meg's POV, but Blair's like, she doesn't see mine, and my
Well, yeah.
POV should dictate how she lives her life.
Well, yeah,
So
she's
what
like
the fuck?
basically, you know, again, this is where Mrs. Garrett is sort of like, why are you reacting like this? She's like, Mrs. Garrett basically says like a very sane thing. She goes, devoting yourself to God isn't deviant behavior. And Blair's like, yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, it is. Who is this for?
It's so weird. It's just such a weird choice to be like, let's make Blair a temporary atheist.
Yeah.
Um,
And then she's like, and it's like, because she says, no, Mrs. Garrett very, smugly and condescendingly says, well, no one could ever argue me out of my faith. And Blair's like, yeah, why not? She's like, because it wasn't something I was reasoned into. That's why it's called faith. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Thank you for defining the word faith for me.
Yeah, Blair has another terrible idea. She's gonna hold Meg captive until Meg's parents arrive so they can talk sense into her, reason her out of her faith. It's very weird how people are just compelled to like lock this woman up to make sure she does not.
Become a nun.
And
It's as though it's like if we did a Mad Lib, right? Meg's parents are locking her up because she wants to fill in the blank. What could it possibly be? She wants to start turning tricks and smoking crack cocaine. She wants to
eat all the tape in all of the VCRs.
Yeah, she wants to kill herself and everyone around her.
That too.
She wants to become a nun. Oh, we should put her in jail. Shit.
Yeah. Tie her down. Make sure she doesn't leave the house. Somebody be with her at all points.
Yeah.
And speaking of annoying, Tootie enters like a dog, always so excited when somebody arrives at any location.
For no reason. She comes in to interrupt Mrs. Garrett and Blair because she wants to get the camera that's in the room, because when you come home from your, quote, college weekend, you look different. So just in case for everyone in the back or everyone who hasn't been listening, they want to take a photo of her because they're pretty convinced she just got plowed for the first time.
That's going to make her lips a little bit redder.
She's going to, like in
higher?
No, like in the very special episode, the prom episode of Beverly Hills 90210, when Dylan and Brenda do it for the first time. She goes, "Do I look different?" And he goes, "You're glowing." So yeah, you do look different.
Yes. It is so weird. This is just like how Tootie was last time when Joe arrived at the motel. It's like, you live with Joe. Stop being so excited every time Joe arrives at a place.
So now we're back in the cafeteria. We're back in the cafeteria, and Natalie is hanging on Joe like a lunatic. She's hanging on her like some sort of like a jungle animal. She's like a little.
Tootie's taking pictures like she's the paparazzi.
She's like a lemur with her tail wrapped around her neck, being like, "Tell me, how does dick taste? Does dick taste good? Is it salty? Is it sweet? What is it? Is it weird? How hard is it? Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it sort of like velvet? What's it like? How many did you have? How many dicks did you have in your mouth? In your butt? Any in your butt?" Meanwhile, she comes in, takes a random photo of her for no fucking reason.
Yeah, honestly, if I were Joe, I'd be so overwhelmed. I'd be like, you know what? I am definitely going to be a nun. This is perfect.
I need to get away from you people. And it's like, she's like, Natalie's like, "Oh, what was it like? What was it like?" And Joe's like, what does Liel look like up close? Yeah, lots of pubes. Lots of pubes right up close. I mean, ivy. Sorry, lots of ivy. But it's so gross. Like, what does Yale look up close? Lots of ivy. We all know what we're talking about here, guys. It's gross.
Apparently, Meg and Joe arrived at Yale, and Jason appeared to have gained about 40 pounds in the neck. He got mumps. I was so confused by the way they delivered this information.
Again, because the way that Joe delivers it, she basically says, she's like, so we got there, and then I saw him, and he looked different than I remembered. And it was just sort of like, okay, well, you didn't like him anymore? And she was like, yeah, it looked like his neck gained all this weight.
First she says, it looked like he gained about 40 pounds. And I'm like, sign me up. There's nothing I love better than an athletic guy who just accidentally gained like 40 pounds because he discovered Ben and Jerry's or something. And then, so I was like, yes. And she was like in his neck. And so like, I had this vision of like this super hot guy, and then the gut went like whoop, right up to his neck. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just so you can know what my train of thought was as this was being delivered. I was so disoriented by this delivery. And so it turns out he got mumps, and even then, that's not even what happened. But upon hearing this news, people in the audience let out audible ahs. They were so disappointed Joe didn't catch a dick.
I know. But you know what she did catch? She caught Jesus.
She sure did.
Hmm.
Joe catches Jesus instead of a dick. So,
Yeah, so
Joe
then
and
so Joe's like, basically Joe's like, yeah, so like, he was super gross looking and very sick, so we had to send him to the infirmary. And Natalie's like, um she's like, it was just like, she's like, yeah, I guess it was a little disappointing. And Natalie's like, you're disappointed. Think about my poor diary.
but don't worry, it's fine because Joe had no problem staying at the retreat with the lying lesbian Meg. Wait till her parents find out about this.
I
You,
know.
you of all the girls you could have taken to your retreat at this school, you took the dykiest one.
Yeah.
Get in your room. We're locking you up again. Uh,
Please don't let Jesus into your heart. Please eat this caviar. Please drive your MG. Please. We're going to come up there in our Rolls Royce with our I Heart Jesus bumper sticker if you don't eat the caviar. Eat the caviar.
Apparently, things have been just going so fast for Joe lately that she needed this time to retreat, which Mrs. Garrett gets. She loves retreats.
Oh my God. I wrote down Mrs. Garrett reaches like the peak, like self satisfied, smug bullshit. She's like, oh, I love retreats. When the fuck has Mrs. Garrett been on a fucking retreat?
I mean, they
Oh,
have summers
time,
off.
time to relax and think and listen to your Rice Krispies. Delivered like a joke because it's so quiet that you can hear your own food.
It also was delivered the way she kind of explained what a retreat was, sort of the way she explained what bok choy was last week.
Yeah.
I like that Mrs. Garrett's there to explain things to us just in case we don't know what retreats and bok choy are.
Hmm.
Meg is going to stay in town for the night so she and Blair can talk tomorrow because this has been too much. I saw you for 8 seconds. Let me go spend money on a hotel so we can have this conversation tomorrow instead of right now.
Hmm.
Joe loved the retreat. She took walks. She saw birds and little furry things.
Yeah.
Natalie points out that she hates little furry things, and Joe counters not when they are attached to Blair's fake sister.
Exactly. Little furry things. That's a nun's puss. That's a big furry thing.
Oh, but she's only been a nun for a year.
Still,
I don't know how much growth can happen in a year.
I don't know. It's a pandemic, Dominik.
Yeah, I'm
Quite a
thinking.
lot.
Anyway, so Joe loved the retreat, and she's glowing, saying that the this trip was more than that. Every time somebody would point out something, oh, it was good. It was more than that. Oh, so you had fun. More than that. Shut up. Blair keeps is picking up on all the more than that's, and she's like, "What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Are you fucking my sister?" And Joe says she felt like she was missing something.
Yeah.
Mrs. Garrett chimes in to make it about her. Says when she
Yes.
was on vacation, she can't remember if she turned off the heat, etc.
Uh,
And Joe's like, "Fuck off! I'm in the middle of a story." So Joe says what she forgot was God. And the other
and
girl.
this is where Natalie pipes in with her, fear mongering. Who forgets God? Like it was
Now,
this.
I think she was more because I still don't think that Natalie's religious. I know she's Jewish, but I don't think that she was like super religious in my head. And so when she says this, I more think like the concepts of God. How could you forget? Everybody's like always like, thank God this, thank God that. I don't think she was chastising her on being like, you weren't religious.
No, absolutely not. I completely disagree because of the way that she delivered it. She goes, "How could you forget God?" It was like,
No, she was like, who forgets God?
no. It was like made the case that it was like God is always inside of Natalie's heart.
God is dead. He died on July 14th, 1974. I don't know if that's right. It's
That's
close.
not right. It's June 14th, 1973.
I had the 14th right. Um, anyway, on her was Joe went on a walk And on her walk, she realized that she thanked everybody for how well her life was going, except for God, and now it is time to thank God. Nat says something about how her grandmother would have pinched her cheeks. It's the equivalent of saying, how cute. But Blair sees through all of this and is like, what the fuck are you saying?
Hmm.
Mrs. Garrett answers for Joe, and she says, she's trying to say thank you, bitch. And it's a lovely thought. But once again, Joe's like, it's more than that. This
Yeah.
episode and its repetition is infuriating. So that took 2 hours. She finally spits out, I want to be like Meg. I want to be a nun. And Tootie opens her eyes so wide she looks just like Michael Jackson with the cat eyes in the Thriller video.
Yes. Hmm.
And it says to be continued.
Yeah.
But we're just going to go right through it.
Yeah.
So also, how delightful is the voiceover guy who's like, and now for the conclusion.
So here's the great thing about this is that it was some weird older man, like an
Yes.
older man who does like all of the, evening announcements for, just to catch you up if you missed last week's episode or you forgot it, thankfully. You tried to delete it from your mind. It was this weird old man. But I will say this, that I was like, how long is this man going to recap this episode for me so that this episode actually ends up being pretty short?
That was 100% what I was thinking too. I was like, keep going, buddy. Keep going.
I
Tell
was
me
like,
more.
tell me
Tell me
everything.
more.
Tell me everything. Tell me everything, dude. Actually, can you just do more of a play-by-play? Because I need this next part to be very, very short because I need to get out of here.
Oh, uh, yeah, I really thought I've had the same exact thought. So anyway, so Joe, it's a new day. Joe has come in with the, it's actually the next day,
Yeah. And we're in the cafeteria.
Monday. Joe's come in with a vase she's made, or the Lord helped her make, for her mother's birthday. It apparently took forever to get the neck just right.
Yeah.
So, of course, Natoots decides to wrestle with it for like
No,
a second.
they immediately destroy it.
Yeah,
They take it away from her. She's basically like holds it up. She's like, oh yeah, no, and it's this really ugly, horrible brown pot,
it's
right?
hideous. Yes.
And which my mom always loved to refer to. It's like, because the thing is that like I went to a school that encouraged a lot of creativity. Um,
A lot of vase making.
yeah, and so she'd always be like, wow, you another really beautiful big brown pot you brought home. And that's the thing, is that it's just the volume of like pottery. I think art teachers, especially in the 80s, didn't really understand how much you would make per, if you were like, oh, we're going to do pottery like this semester or whatever. Your kid is going to be bringing home so much ugly brown pots and ugly work, and you're going to have to keep it all because that's your job as a parent. So like we had so many hideous brown like ashtrays or bowls or vases or whatever. Anyway, the toots like are like, oh, sweet, 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 show it to me, and they immediately throw it on the floor. They break
Like,
they break it into a billion pieces. Anyone could see it happen, that it was going to happen. And then Joe screams at Tootie, which rightfully so.
yeah.
And she calls her, Tootie, you stupid, clumsy little sweet child of God.
So part 2 of this episode is going to be wild.
Yeah, it's already starting crazy.
And then Joe and Tootie pick up the shards from the ground with their bare hands, and it makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and again, so the point of this is that it's to show that, so we've moved away from the first episode, which was this, the premise was that, Blair is having some weird, insane reaction for her, ex half step sister, basically a stranger, deciding to devote herself to God, as though this is some giant affront to her, as though this matters to her. As though this makes any difference to her,
Could
right?
you just not be a nun and I'll not talk to you for the next year and a half? Great, thanks.
Yeah, that's fine. So we're through that now. Now we're in the second part, right? And which is, let's say, the cum shot, the nun shot. is basically for Jo to realize that she doesn't really want to be a nun, and she can't hide behind the idea of being a nun to, you know, uh, I, I don't know, do things. You know, she can't hide behind a phony belief in this. This is just some new flight of fancy that she's taken on. She doesn't actually want, it's her come to Jesus moment that she actually doesn't want to come to Jesus.
That's yes. Yeah. But not just yet. Uh, right now, Tootie wants to know if Jo is going to yell at her or at least stomp on her face. And I feel like she should have at least phrased that the other way around. I'm pretty sure even old Jo doesn't stomp on people's faces.
Again, that's the weird thing about this episode is that it feels like someone who doesn't have a, like, this went through Google Translate into Spanish, then into from Spanish into Portuguese, and then from Portuguese back into English, and then that was the script. And it's like that's what they told Tootie to say. Aren't you going to yell at me or at least stomp on my face? What? No one says that.
No.
It's not a damn.
It is definitely not. But Natoots tries to tell Jo that this came out of the blue and she is not a religious person. And Jo counters that she went to church as a child, but I guess okay.
But again, the other thing is that it's like they're like, Jo, Natalie's like, Jo, you're not a religious person. What is all this? But again, you know what? Natalie, fuck off.
Yeah, I also feel like you're just pushing Jo further into that camp.
Yeah.
By doubting her.
To be perfectly frank, if I wanted to live a life of silent contemplation and devotion to God and say that that's what I was doing, just so that I didn't have to be around these people anymore, so that I could leave Eastland, I would.
I genuinely thought you were going to say, if you had to do that just so you could leave this podcast, you would.
I would give away my sports car, and you can have my bank book when you free me from this taxing, horrifying project that seems to have sucked my soul from my body.
I'm pretty sure it was the pandemic. I feel like if we didn't have the podcast, I would have less soul in my body and maybe a little bit more ice cream in my body. So then Jason walks in. A man.
Oh my God.
Man is on this show. I haven't seen a man in a while.
Yeah. And who the hell is this person? He comes in holding a motorcycle helmet.
Mm-hmm. And he's been freshly demumped.
Yeah.
His neck looks totally normal. Let's talk about Jason. He is played by John Caliri. And as a classic Facts of Life guest star, of course, he did a stint on Different Strokes, where he played Tony in a 1981 episode. That and an episode of Greatest American Heroes are his first two credits. He was on a TJ Hooker, then a Chips. What I know him best for is he played Vinny Pacetta on Square Pegs, which I recommend. He recurred on Double Trouble. And both those shows are like the same show in my head. I like them both. So yeah, Vinny Pacetta, check him out. John Caliri. But basically, those are like the things I know him from. He went on to do an episode of V, the 80s V, where he played Barry Bowdicker.
Oh.
I thought you'd like that name, Barry Bowdicker. He did a Twilight Zone in 1986 and a Hill Street Blues, 2 episodes of the John Stamos, Jack Klugman sitcom You Again in 1986, which I recommend watching. There's 2 opening credits. They're both incredibly long and awkward for each season, and it is a bad show.
Is it as bad as this?
Oh, way worse. Way worse. This is.
I will say though that how can something that's just called You Again not be amazing?
It's Jack Klugman and John Stamos is his son.
You start out on the wrong foot, Ugh, You Again?
Mm-hmm. It's Stamos is Klugman's kid, and I guess they're estranged in some way, and then he just shows up on his doorstep, and in the credits, Klugman's like, oh God, and tries to slam the door on his face, but Stamos like puts a foot in, and he is like, ugh, You Again. Any, anyway, that's basically it for John Cleary. Nothing else after '86. No clue what he could be up to. He could own the building I live in. No clue. Natalie asks him what he did with his mumps, and he says false alarm, swollen glands. So happy.
Yeah.
No one has ever said swollen glands as happily as this kid. Also, swollen glands take weeks to go away, not 24 hours.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe they just pumped him full of steroids or something, and now, and because he was so horned up, he was so desperate to see his, potential girlfriend, that he was so desperate, he was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. I mean,
He is
really,
Jason.
this is the thing where that strains your credulity on this show. This
Yeah,
is this
the
mump
mystery mumps.
situation.
Yes,
The
yes, it does.
glands. Oh,
It's
so
not
the
the
glands
only
are the
thing.
problem.
It's not the only thing, but it is one of them. He says he's sorry he blew up their weekend plans. He hopes she's not mad, and she
Yeah.
turns and clears her throat. It's very weird, like she is mad.
Yes.
But he is being super desperate. He wanted to surprise her, and that's like, oh, she's gonna fucking top that surprise. Sort
Yeah.
of implies that Joe is pregnant somehow.
Yeah. But
But he
no.
goes from pizza to pervy in 2 seconds flat. He asks her to go get some za, and then he says he can't stop imagining her on the back of his bike, holding on real tight, especially around the curves.
I don't know. I thought that was nice.
All right.
I mean,
Apparently,
just
the only way to get Joe to spill her nun secret is to be extra sexual with her, because she wastes no time finally telling Jason, "Ah, don't talk
no.
about curves. I'm going to be a nun."
Yeah. So again, that's the thing, is that um Joe has decided to become a nun because she is uncomfortable with the notion of a quote college weekend. She is not ready to be, fucked silly.
Hmm.
So she's running away from life experience because and going straight to the nunnery. She's not even passing go. She's going straight to jail.
Collect
Because she
200 dildos.
yeah, because she doesn't want to deal with real life, right? Whereas that's the point of Meg, is that she has been around the block, so that her choice about of going to the nunnery, the convent, is informed.
Informed.
There you go. So again, and so it's to highlight the fact that Joe is rushing into this, but Meg is not. And that women can
Uh,
do anything they want. They can be astronauts, they can be teachers, they can even be doctors who believe in God. That at that point, that was when I felt like my soul left my body and went to a different planet. I was like, I can't have, like, this show is trying to have that message, being like, don't worry, kids, you can be religious and also be into science.
I mean, it feels like the world has decided it's one or the other these days.
But this was 1983.
No, I know, but maybe they were more prescient than we are giving them credit for, is all I'm trying to say. But Jason does ask a polite question. Was it something I said? Before asking the proper question, which is why? You know,
Yeah, and she can't explain it.
no.
It's not something you can't explain. I
But
don't
she
know.
also can't be touched. He tried to put his hand on her back, and she was like,
No,
"No."
no, no. That's the thing, is that that's why she's like I'm uncomfortable with this stuff. So, and you can't do that, and she's using the nun stuff as a way to not have to have life experience.
And she literally just sends him away. He's like, "It's going to be a long drive to New Haven," and
And she's
she's like,
like, "Yeah, okay, so drive carefully and bless you."
"Yeah, it's an hour and a half drive." Just in case anybody was wondering, I always like to do the map math. No big deal. But I also like Joe could have gotten a slice with this guy. He drove an hour and a half. You didn't
No.
have pizza. This is where I wrote. Nuns eat pizza, I think. And then I Googled two nuns eat pizza with conflicting reports. Some say nuns can't eat anything delicious. One nunnery, they get pizza at venison sausage. That's the type of sausage they get. And so it, I think, does depend on the nun. And then the other questions were what happens when a nun gets pregnant, which I enjoyed. And of course, do nuns get their periods? Which the answer was a lot more than non-nuns. So Natalie points out that Joe will be only able to say bless you to every man that she meets for the rest of his life instead of put it in me.
Yeah.
Natalie is so horny that this concept is blowing her fucking mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, it's this weird thing is that, again, I'm totally fine with the notion with basically like, here's the thing. We didn't even need Eve Plum for
no,
this. We didn't need that whole episode, right? We could have just gotten this odd notion that that Joe suddenly develops this fixation on, on basically cosplaying as a religious person, right? And
is
using that,
that a unique way of pronouncing cosplaying?
yeah, cosplay.
I've never heard that before. I like it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, cosplay, whatever. She's LARPing, okay? Um, but she's like LARPing to conceal the fact
Her
that
lesbian desires.
yeah, no, to conceal the fact that she doesn't want to um experience new things, but also that she's using being a nun or her desire to be religious or whatever as a way to conceal her bad behavior. So when she's like, you know, when they're like, well, like, um, how are you gonna? Yeah, Natalie's like, how are you gonna handle not getting dicked? And Joe's like, well, they have classes in chastity, and she's like, well, what about children? And Joe says, you'll all be my children. And it's this like disingenuous like bullshit of like, if a real nun heard that, they'd be like, get to the back of the fucking line. Shut up. You're not even taking this shit seriously. I doubt you've even read the fucking Bible, Joe.
Joe does tell Natalie that they have classes in chastity,
Mm-hmm.
which
That's I just said.
blows Natalie's mind.
Yeah.
Just absolutely blows her mind. I don't know why. It's
Because
just it's
because
just a bunch of nuns in a circle like masturbating, right?
no, it's the notion for Natalie, the notion that you can teach yourself to not be horny is like, oh my God, I need to sign up because I am too wet downstairs all the time.
That's true. So Blair comes in looking for Meg.
Yeah.
And we know that Joe made this nun decision yesterday, and she's already starting to see the cracks. Also, who did she talk to about chastity classes? She didn't say Meg was the one who told her about them.
I don't know. She spent all weekend at that fucking retreat. So I don't know. One of those, Sister Mary. I don't know.
There's lots of nuns? I thought this was just like her time to be alone. I didn't realize it was a nun retreat. Okay.
Yes, that's exactly how Meg described it.
That there were other nuns there?
Yeah.
Oh, I somehow misunderstood that. I thought she was describing the solitude that she was looking for was there. So I misread the situation.
No,
My
so
apologies.
they're going on a retreat, a religious retreat to like hang out and be part of nature. But yeah, here's the thing is that Joe does say that like her big come to God moment was basically the fact that she was just walking around in the forest and was like, this is pretty nice. I like this. And was sort of made a weird assumption being like, oh, so this is what being a nun is like? Silence, being by myself, not having to deal with these annoying little girls bothering me all the time. Of course I want to be a nun. Sign me up.
Forest animals. I didn't realize there was forest animals involved
Sign
in
me up.
being a nun.
Yeah.
Love it. Apparently, Meg asked Mrs. Garrett to meet her in town. They had some things to take care of. Since when does Meg and Mrs. Garrett have this relationship?
Yeah.
And shouldn't Meg be like working on her situation with Blair first and foremost, rather than making plans with Mrs. Garrett to do errands?
Who she has never met before?
Exactly. It's just very strange. So Joe's version of playing religious is to be pious and condescending. She tells Blair that she prayed for her to speak to her sister, and God listened. And Blair's like, "Fuck off,
You
God
hoodlum
listened."
nun.
That's it. That was what it was.
Yeah.
With brawler
So
nun.
the hoodlum and the debutante. That sounds great. I mean, yeah.
Who wouldn't watch that?
Everyone. No one would watch that.
Joe does not like this. She's like, "I won't forget it, but it's possible she'll forgive her. We'll see." And Natalie has a one-liner that is as logical as it is funny. I thought she wanted to be a sister, not a saint. That's another one of those things that would have definitely been on the cutting room floor had we only had to fill one episode's worth of time. Meg and Mrs. Garrett come in looking awfully chummy.
Yeah.
If I were Blair, I'd be worried that Meg converted Mrs. Garrett now.
Exactly. So that's the thing, is that ultimately, so here's the thing. Blair at this point is very suspicious.
Yeah.
She's like, did she like, and this is where I was sort of like, oh shit, maybe they're actually going to do something interesting here and make this into a sort of weird Catholic cult thing where it was like, is she just recruiting people?
That would have been worth 2 episodes.
That would have been worth 2 episodes, because then you actually do need to get rid of that bad, toxic person in your life. You know, the person who's trying to recruit your best friend into being in a nunnery with her.
I'm becoming a nun, and everybody you know is becoming a nun. Deal with it, Blair. This is my revenge.
Yeah.
Also, why can't the convent? So we learned that she was in town selling the MG, or donating the MG to the Sisters of Saint Martha, which is so fucked up because, like, at least wait to have the conversation with your sister before you decide to give up the car that you had already offered her. Also, why can't you offer the car to the Sisters of whatever nunnery you're going to? Yeah. Everybody will love you. They'll be like, oh shit, she brought a car. Sister Meg's awesome.
Yeah.
And she eats pizza and she doesn't get her period.
Yeah. She doesn't get her period.
Yeah, it's a special nun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, since Blair wouldn't take the car, it's donated. Nat wonders if the nuns will drive the MG with the top down. Nat's got to stop talking in this episode.
Yeah. And then there's some stupid shit about a fucking raffle, whatever. And, you know, Joe tells Meg about her intention to become a nun. And Meg's like, yeah, okay, so about that. I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, our Puss Warner in the back is like, I bet you would, converter.
Yeah.
Joe's not even mad that her surprise was. I've been like, if I decided to become a nun, I was like, I'm going to tell the person who inspired me. Mrs. Garrett already beat me to the punch. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Punch her in the face. But no, she was not. She was being nunly, and she was not upset that her surprise was usurped. The words surprise and usurped in the same sentence feels like they should be a tongue twister.
Yes.
Or or a palindrome.
No, not a palindrome. Almost like a spoonerism, or you know. Anyway,
it's not a palindrome. It just sounds like it should be. Surprise usurped.
Yeah. But again, this is why this is so annoying. Is that it's like, so? First of all, when did I guess Mrs. Garrett was in the room when Joe was like, "I'm going to be a nun." Yes. And then she does. So then, yeah, she tells the actual nun. Yeah, like, that wasn't your secret to tell, Mrs. Garrett. But also, Mrs. Garrett should have had her own reading on the situation.
Yeah, I don't think you need a nun to you're in charge of Joe. That's your job. Well, I know you like to farm out your job of, cleaning and cooking for these students to these 4 girls, but now you're gonna pawn off your advice thing. That was your one thing that you did. Now you're gonna pawn that off on Sister Meg. Lame.
Yeah.
Lame. Yeah. So Meg thinks Joe got the idea that you just add water, stir, and bam, instant nun. Meg says it doesn't work that way, but Joe's like, yeah, it does. I added water and I stirred, and boom, I'm a nun like you now.
Right? Isn't that how this works? Right?
Yeah. Blair agrees that Joe is glowing and that they should stick a light bulb in her mouth a la Uncle Fester and read by her. Mrs. Garrett doesn't react to this, but then Blair asks her fake sister if they give nuns points for recruits. And then Mrs. Garrett's like, Blair!
Yeah.
Meg resents the accusation. There's a debate about which one it is. And then Blair does an Uncle Sam parody. Sister Meg wants you, and points at the audience, daring them, nay, begging them to laugh. They do not.
Yeah, and again, it's God, like, they have this back and forth bullshit about, it's like, she's like, do you always need to boss people around? And she's like, yeah, when I see people ruining their life, I do. She's like, well, I'm not. And then Meg's like, I'm not ruining my life. I just want something more relevant than charge accounts and country clubs. That's what she wants. Relevant. She wants
Well,
something more
then
relevant.
it's none or nothing. There's nothing in between.
But again, that's the thing is that it's like they're so fucking vague about anything to do. We don't even know what kind of nun she is.
And we never will.
Yeah.
I like when one of them's like, ye of little faith, and then the other one's like,
No,
ye
I
of
hate
big
that.
mouth.
No. Anyway, so then it's like, so it's bullshit constantly. And like, and it's like, you know, the last time I went, it's like, you should wait for your parents, whatever. Like, you know, it's like the last time I went home to my parents, they wouldn't let me go back to the convent, which is where I got the insight that that was the whole thing. It's like, I want to run away from home and go to the convent. It's so stupid. And then, you know, she goes, clearly you've been brainwashed. And Blair says, you know, we're talking about God. What God? Where? I'm sick of your holier than thou attitude. I literally wrote down same, Blair, same. Hard, same. Again, like the fact that it's like, here's the thing. No, everyone who wants to pursue this life, if you're a fucking adult, go do it. Do it. I don't need to learn this lesson.
You do, because you're on the facts of facts, and so you need to learn all the lessons that these girls learn, no matter how bad they are.
And then she says, if there's a sign, you know, if there is a sign, if there is a God, give me a sign. And then Joe punches her right in the face.
Well, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
No, we're not.
Yes.
No, we're not. We're moving ahead. We're trucking ahead. She punches her in the face, and that was the big moment. I actually was very shocked by that because who would a nun punch a friend? No. But
Well,
it was a divine sign.
Blair says that I'm just going to go back a little bit.
No, please.
Work really hard on these notes that you're just making me skip. I mean, apparently this is the whole climax of the episode.
No, this isn't the climax of the episode.
This is where we learn that she's been locked up by her parents.
We're 3 minutes into the second episode, and Joe's punched her in the face.
We're 15 minutes into the second episode. This is the commercial break. But yeah, so Blair says that Meg fucked everything up by being there. That Meg says that she's leaving. Mrs. Garrett goes to take her to the train station. But Blair's not done. Sure, you could spirit her off. You could sing her chants, withdraw from the world. This time they'll probably throw away the key. I had to rewind this line so many times because it made so little sense to me. I wrote it down verbatim with quotes all in caps because I wanted to understand what the fuck that means.
Why? None of this makes any sense.
Well, Mrs. Garrett interprets it to mean that Blair thinks that convents are prisons, which I don't know how she got that from it, but it keeps the scene moving along. And Blair says that if that's not the case, why hasn't she been home in a year? None stuff.
Because her parents want to prevent her from doing this. Again.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I still don't understand how that relates from one to the other.
The conflict here, again, it's like, why does Blair care so much?
Not only why does Blair care so much, but the way that when she hears the news that her parents were locking her up at night and not letting her be alone, she goes, well, they had your best interests at heart. Like, things are really fucked up in Meg's household. And then Blair, who's not even a relative, is like, and that's how it's supposed to be. It's like a dark moment, I thought, in this episode.
Whatever. You know, at this point, I was like, you punch me in the fucking face.
So Blair says it's obvious Meg has been brainwashed, which I kind of agree. But that'll happen when you have horrible parents. You will be easily brainwashed. And Joe takes issue with this. Say it's not what it's like. She's working for the it's not like, yeah, this was a question. When she says she's not working for a big bald guy in a toga, she's talking about God. Who was she referring to?
A big bald guy in a toga.
Yeah, who is that?
God.
But no, she's saying it's not like she's working for a big bald guy in a toga. This is God we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's not God.
No, it is God. So, but she's basically saying that God is not just some big dude that you think of as like some she's not having some relationship with some man in a toga who's holding, a book. It's God is like is more significant than just this thing that Joe thinks that Blair is imagining what God looks like. Some dude.
So that's Joe. That's Joe's interpretation of what God looks like is a big bald man in a toga.
No, she's making a distinction between the notion that she's working for God, as in like a larger, you know, um, force in the universe, rather than just some sort of pedantic, like what you think God might resemble from your fucking religious history book. This is what God looks like.
Got it. Got it.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But
No.
that's
I
why
felt like felt like part 2 of this episode was like part 1 was so tentative and just like stretching everything out as much as possible, and then part 2 is crazy, like aggressively, like we've got 10 minutes to write this, just put something on the page. So Blair, quite clear-headed in the moment, asks what God, if there's a God, show him to me. I'm sick and tired of hearing about your theoretical Lord and Savior. Blair calls Joe self-righteous, pompous, pain in the neck,
mm-hmm.
and demands a sign, and this is where you said Joe punches her in the face, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I loved it.
Actually, I felt like Blair should have punched everyone in the face and left Eastland in a huff.
Blair?
Blair is the only one who is sane here.
In this moment, I feel like she's insane about, her fake sister.
Yeah.
But
so
she's clear-headed for this one moment. I'll agree with you there. And so now we are back in the girls' bedroom. Tootie is doing what Tootie's been doing all season, which is just state the obvious and loudly. This time she says, boy, Joe, you really popped her, didn't she?
Yeah.
Thanks, Toots. Now we know what's going on. Tootie finds this really hilarious and makes a hand of God joke and a turn the other cheek joke. Blair and Mrs. Garrett are pissed. This is no laughing matter. Just ask the audience. Tootie isn't even moved by Mrs. Garrett's effort to get her to take this seriously. She just leaves still cracking wise.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I feel like it's like we're finally getting to the like stupid crux of the fucking like argument of this fucking episode, which was a goddamn nightmare. I felt like I was in hell every moment. But like, it's
getting angrier and angrier as the podcast goes on.
Yeah, because the thing is that it's like, so Joe hits Blair in the face because Joe feels like, she feels like Joe isn't, that Blair isn't taking this seriously. And again, Joe overreacts. She shouldn't be hitting Blair over something like that. But Blair has reasons enough alone because she doesn't believe in God anymore, because for her, God died on June 14th, 1973. Because
that is correct.
That is when, because Mrs. Garrett comes in and is trying to like talking to Blair about this, and is trying to like make sense of like why Blair is so fucking mad about this.
I really loved that line when she was like, people like Coco Chanel develop a reputation so that even after they're dead, people still buy their lines. Yeah. I thought that was great.
No, I was like, it was such a fucking reach and so stupid that it was like, Mrs. Garrett's like, why is it gullible to believe in God? As though, Blair hasn't already been like saying why it's gullible to believe in God this whole time. And Mrs. Garrett was like, yeah, I know, because that's what faith is. You don't have to be reasoned into it. Like, yes, we've covered all of this, Mrs. Garrett. Okay, so what's the deal? And then Blair makes some batshit insane metaphor about how she goes, face it, God is a legend. Okay, God is a legend. And then she says, but, like Coco Chanel and Anne Klein, after they're dead, people continue to buy your line. But God is dead. So I don't understand why people are still buying this bullshit. And Mrs. Garrett's like, how do you know he's dead?
Yeah, because it's so dramatic. You would think that she had like a baby sister that was murdered by like a crow that came by. That, like, you can't even blame it on a human. It's just the world devoured my baby sister. It was so dramatic. And then,
You would have thought that the Pope had shot her mother in the face.
but
And it was
no.
literally just that, Blair's just like, they say, brush your teeth and wash your face and do your prayers. And I did all my prayers. And then no one was listening when my parents got divorced. My prayers were not listened to.
It was ridiculous reasoning. And I was so shocked. I looked at it. I was like, how do we still have like half of this episode left at this point? But Mrs. Garrett tries to suggest. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's like Blair's just like, it doesn't make any sense, and it's like, well, you know what, Blair, your parents getting a divorce doesn't make any sense. Go to your fucking parents and ask them about it. Talk to them. If it's a mystery to you, then they're being bad parents.
Mrs. Garrett tries to reason that maybe her parents got divorced so that Blair could be in this very position now where she could give advice to other kids about family problems. And Blair's like,
what the fuck are you talking about, Mrs. Garrett? Fuck you. Why would I want to give advice? I would happily not be able to be completely happy and with a non-broken home and not give advice to anyone.
And Mrs. Garrett's like, you're fighting with God, fine, but can you leave your fake sister who you never see and never talk to and never will see again out of this? And then she goes nuts with this analogy. If someone told you couldn't be an art major because you'd cut off your ear and starve, what kind of life would that be? What would Blair say? And Blair's like, well, I'd say buzz off.
Again, as though Blair would ever be poor.
Or as if anybody would ever say anything like that.
No.
It's just such a ridiculous, like, anyway, turn blue should have been her answer if you ask me. Mrs. Garrett oversimplifies it by explaining that no one has the right to tell anyone what will make them happy. And yeah, fair enough. Long looks towards the camera warning us that we're about to go to another scene.
Yeah, back in the cafeteria.
Tootie is still shouting things we already know. I can't believe you hit her! Now she's not finding it funny like she was in the last scene, which is weird. And Natalie is outright furious.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Natalie draws the line at physical violence unless it's from a man and that man is in a van and wants to have sex with her.
Yep.
Joe's all cocky. I'm sure God will forgive me. Whatever, lol.
Yeah. And then, like, does Natalie say he might, Blair won't, and she's the one you have to room with?
Yes.
And then they're both like kind of obsessed with this, being like, I never saw another girl slug another one. And it's like,
Tootie, if you don't shut up, you're going to see it happen again.
Yeah. And then like Blair enters to talk to Meg, and like, Natalie's like, well, if it's about politics or religion, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
like she's at a dinner party in the mid-'80s.
Like she's at a completely different episode of The Facts of Life. Like, we can't resolve our plots without talking about religion, Natalie. Do you want us to be stuck in this purgatory forever?
Yeah.
So Joe goes for a walk so that Blair can resolve one of her two plots so she doesn't have to do two at a time.
Yeah.
And the Toots are scrambling around the cafeteria looking for scraps of plot that have maybe fallen on the floor.
Yeah.
Blair wants to leave, wants to talk to Meg, and Nat says the politics thing. But Blair admits that she was acting judgmental about Meg's decision. And then for no reason at all, Meg chimes in and says she knows she was acting like Attila the Nun herself. No, she wasn't.
No.
Not in the least.
She was very reasonable. No one should have.
Anti-recruiting.
No one should have been reacting like this at all. Again, this is like every Facts of Life. It's like no one has the correct response to normal interactions.
And then Meg is the first one to say, I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? Meg says, I'm sorry. Blair says nothing.
Yeah.
She never apologizes. Instead, she says that she's invited Meg's parents to come to Eastland, and she's basically been stringing her along all day. Whoa, maybe say sorry now.
No, again, so Blair narcs on her. This outrages Tootie. For like no reason. What the hell does she care?
Yeah, they're madder than Meg is. Meg's making jokes about it.
Yeah.
Nat's going to be a lookout. Meg says they drive a gray Rolls Royce with a bumper sticker that says "Honk if you love Jesus," and that could be true for all I know. But I guess it was supposed to be a joke because she says I'm kidding. But they're terrible people. Terrible people have stupid bumper stickers. Anything's possible. Anyway, when a nun says you're kidding, you better believe her. She's going to get on that 5:30 train as planned, and now that she's carless, and there's nothing that's going to stop her from ascending.
Yeah.
But Natoots seems to be suffering from PTSD from all this arguing that's been happening in front of him. They go practically beg her to go so they don't have to witness the fight. They can go to their room anywhere else on campus. Just why don't you let her and her family work it out? Or why do you care so much about this woman?
I I don't know. At this point, I was like praying that this would be over. And I still don't understand why there's so much left.
Apparently,
And then there's like a lot of this, like, you don't bargain with God, you bargain with a used car dealer, as though Meg would know anything about bargaining with a used car dealership ever. She's a rich little kid with an MG.
yeah. But what if she's wrong? What if Meg what if God does want Meg on an earlier train? What if that's why her parents are coming? Maybe like the 5:30 train is going to go off the rails and kill a bunch of people. That's why. But God doesn't want to lose a soldier, so He is trying to get her on that earlier train, and that's why Meg's parents are coming, so she can get out of town. Like, how do you know if you're going to be like, I have faith, and there are signs? What are these signs? They could be interpreted in a million different ways. I think that he wants you to get on an earlier train to scare you off from seeing your awful kidnapping parents. But that's just me. Blair says you can't believe in God because praying doesn't work all the time and there's bad stuff in the world and it's hella dramatic. But Natalie interrupts her flow by telling a story about how she made a deal with God that she'd call her grandmother if she passed the test. She passed the test, and oh shit, she needs to remember to call her grandmother. And then Meg's like, "You suck."
Yeah, again, this is the whole thing about like stretching. I literally, honest to God, I didn't even write any of this down. I wrote none of this. Actually, to be perfectly frank, I forgot the whole thing that Natalie did with the whole. I prayed to God to pass my math test, so then I would have to call my grandma, so that I would have to face a consequence. I forgot all about that. I'm actually a little upset that you reminded me of it. So
Well,
that's
Meg didn't like this either. She had a
Meg
first word.
explains. She's like, that's not how it works, Natalie, you stupid fucking idiot. Also, do you want to accept Jesus into your heart? Because I know you're a Jew. It's like weird. It's like, it's like they're not even talking about the thing they're talking about. This is at the first moment when we actually get to the point where, Blair and Meg have to confront one another about, you know, why, like, the fact that Meg is choosing this isn't because she's like saying, the way that like you live your life, Blair, is disgusting to me. It's like, this is a personal journey for me and I want to do it. So your problems are about you, so I'm going to put that back on you. And Blair's like, wait, but how? I don't understand. How can you possibly, have this certainty? And like Meg's like, that's the thing, Blair. We should have had this conversation an hour ago, because it has nothing to do with certainty.
Or even Friday.
Yeah, it has to do with faith. And Blair's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't understand any of this. And she's like, yeah, every day is tough. Every day I learn a new thing. That's the whole thing about being a nun, is it tests your faith. You can be religious and be a scientist. And then we're kind of like, okay, now I see the engine of the argument that we're making with these two episodes.
Well, Blair's also like, if you can't pray for stuff, what's the point of praying at all?
Yeah.
And I kind of do, like, if I pray that my neighbor gets well, that's because I want my neighbor to get well. Does that make me selfish?
No. But you're praying for another person.
But it's what I want.
Sure.
So where's the line?
Because if you pray for, say, a new Birkin bag or a new, Pet Shop Boys album,
just pre-ordered the new Pet Shop Boys book with bonus CD single.
So there you go. So did you pray for that?
I didn't pray for it, but I was really excited when I got the alert that it was available for pre-order.
Okay. So
That is the second Pet Shop Boys reference in this podcast.
I know the first was It's a Sin.
Uh-huh. Apparently you hope for good stuff. You pray for God to do what's best.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I get the distinction because especially when Blair goes, you just trust him. And
And
Mrs.
it's like,
Garrett goes, sorry.
no, again, and that's the thing. Does Blair not understand? Has she never, how a-religious is Blair? You know what I mean? Like, she's kind of like coming at this being like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? This God, Jesus thing. I've never heard about this. Is this a scam? Is this a scam? Why bother? And it's like, wait, have you never taken a religious studies class? Like, have you even heard of the Bible? Do you even lift, bro? Like, it's this weird sort of like odd quality where it's like Meg has to basically explain to Blair what it's like to just believe in something. And it's like, and then Blair's like, oh, that's what this is? Huh, okay.
Pretty much. Mrs. Garrett swipes the girls, the toots, to leave, peel some parsnips to go with their Brussels sprouts for dinner.
I like both of those things.
I love both of those things, particularly parsnips, but both are great. I don't know that I've ever had them together. I'm not like against it, but they're not, they don't need to be together. But apparently Mrs. Garrett wants them. She's MSG in my notes so many times, Mrs. Garrett. So this way that Blair and Meg can wrap up their storyline. They're tired of fighting. It causes frown lines, blah, 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 blah. It's done. Joe walks in aggressively, head full of steam, heads right for Blair with something to say. And Blair's like, whoa, hold up, step back. Say it from there. You're a violent psycho.
Yeah.
We got our first laugh of the episode.
Yeah, I wrote down huge laugh.
Yeah,
huge laugh.
It was funny. It was
because Joe comes in. She goes, I hit you. I talked to God, and he wanted me to do it.
Yep. That was good. I laughed out loud when that happened.
And then Meg loses her mind.
Goes insane.
Goes crazy. She shrieks like a banshee. She goes, what? And like
she
very
is
much,
not letting her.
One of the other episodes where I was like, oh, it was Mrs. Garrett going, what? It's like it was this very like, what? And she goes, it was your fist that did it and your will that made it. And then Joe's like, whoa, 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 why are you being so aggro? You're a nun. Back up.
And then Meg's like, what? I'm a nun? I'm not human? And Joe's like, kind of.
Yeah. She's like, she thinks that like, being a nun isn't just halos and holy water and hand jobs and habits. It's like, you don't want to wake up one morning, having caught the Holy Spirit the way you don't wake up one morning having caught the Holy Spirit the way you catch the flu.
I mean, it could happen that way, right?
I don't know.
I've never caught the Holy Spirit, but I have caught the flu. And I don't wake up with it. Sometimes it happens in the late afternoon. Mm-hmm. But for Meg, it started with a hunch, which really bothers Joe. Really bothers her. Mm-hmm. It's like a hunch. It's like finding out that your friend got you into QAnon. It's like,
yeah.
Wait, excuse me? So nobody's ever met this Q? Yeah, so Joe felt like Joe started with a lightning bolt. That should make her faith stronger, but Joe is pissed off. Meg better keep her face guarded. Bookies have hunches, nuns have revelations. Joe is certain that nuns catch the Holy Spirit the way they catch the flu, but that is apparently not the case, and Meg admits that she has doubts, but the first few years of nunning are all about doubting your choice, apparently. That's how you know it's right for you.
Well, no, it's because your faith, even though the doubts happen, is that your faith remains true and strong, even if the doubts keep piling up,
Well, Blair likes this. Blair likes hearing that Meg has doubts.
Yeah, and she's like, well, you don't admit like you have doubts. And she's like, well, yeah, no, because everyone keeps yelling at me about like, trying to be a nun. And it's like...
Fucking sucked so hard. How am I supposed to have a conversation with you?
Yeah, so like, that's why I have to be like, yeah, no, I'm dead set on being a nun. Anyway, so then Joe's like, wait, whoa. You don't have to join a convent to show your love of God? Yeah, but is it the same? Yeah.
Apparently, nuns also argue, gossip, and grouse with each other, which is really headline news to Joe.
Yeah, she's like, wait, whoa, whoa. So you basically mean like this is basically sort of like being in a convent?
We're like nuns?
Are we nuns?
Am I being a nun right
Am I
now?
a nun? Is this a nun school? I don't know.
Joe worries that just being religious isn't very important. I'm kind of like, yep. Meg tries to make her feel better by saying that God doesn't expect any grand gestures, and Blair's like, that's because he died on June 14th, 1973. We
Yeah,
learn that you
because
can.
because Blair is apparently like a nihilist. She's like Nietzsche. She's like God is dead. Okay, and we're just moving on from here. So
Yeah, this is where we learn that you can be a religious person and have any career you want, even race car driver. Thank you, Martian Peters. Meg, she's like, you could be as religious as you want without being a nun. And Blair says the same thing to Meg, and Meg's like, nah. That makes sense? Okay, shut up now. Blair thinks it would make a lot more sense if Meg wanted to be the first female pope. She would apparently sell her soul for that wardrobe. Does the Pope have a good wardrobe? I thought it was like all white gowns and big hats.
yeah, that sounds cool.
Okay, I don't see Blair, and that doesn't seem like Blair's style, but okay. Uh,
Big white gowns and giant hats. That feels very on brand for Blair.
Fair enough, fair enough. Blair says that she wants Meg to be happy, and then Mrs. Garrett comes into the cafeteria with a bucket load of silverware. Blair asks if she can invite Meg to dinner. Like, why wouldn't she be able to? The whole fucking school is going to be eating. Yeah, she can come to dinner.
Yeah, with
Uh,
Brussels sprouts and parsnips.
but what of Meg's parents that are apparently on their way up here?
To jail her again.
And what about the 5:30 train that God needs you to take for some reason? Both of these things are of no consequence anymore.
No, we don't care about those things anymore. We forgot that those existed.
Very weird. So Meg accepts the invite, but then rudely tells Mrs. Garrett she's not eating any fucking parsnips. To say, nuns can be assholes too. But Mrs. Garrett's up for the challenge. She's gonna fucking shove a parsnip in her face.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. So Mrs. Garrett pulls Meg into the other room and says, I'll show you where to wash up, even though this is the third time that Meg has been in this location, and she should definitely know where to wash up. And also, parsnips are just getting peeled, so the concept of her needing to wash up, and also the concept of her parents arriving and missing that train that God wants her to take, everything is weird now.
Yeah.
But that thing again where Mrs. Garrett pulls more people out, so other people can have their resolutions. She cannot not do that now multiple times in an episode. In a scene.
It's just to get Meg out of the scene so that Blow can make up.
Yeah. She just did that earlier with Bleg and the Toots, taking them out. She's done it multiple times, and the fucking director hasn't even shouted cut yet.
And then what Joe apologizes.
And Blair apologizes.
And then
I'm sorry, but Blair accepts the apology. I'm sorry. I had a typo there. Blair accepts the apology by saying it was a good shot. And then Joe promises never to do it again. And Blair says, good, because it wasn't that bad of a shot.
Yeah.
And Joe's worried that when Meg leaves, all of her godly feelings will disappear. Blair says they won't, which is pretty rich coming from somebody who just screamed that God is dead earlier. Okay, boomer. And Joe asks how she knows, and Blair just knows because faith has been restored in Blair's cold heart. Either way, the audience applauds, thrilled to be free of this episode, as we are.
Yeah. And then it's just Joe and Blair just sort of like kind of looking at one another being like, yeah. Well, that certainly kind of petered out, didn't it? Did we have another line? Or should we just stand here like this, awkwardly?
Maybe if we look to the side, the camera will pan in and the episode will end.
Yeah. Is Azad looking? Is he looking?
Yo, Azad.
Is he asleep? Is he awake? Yeah.
Anyway, so how did you enjoy that one?
This was the worst one we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah.
You've said
I
that before.
I hated this more than anything
Well,
because it was pointless and it shouldn't have been this long and was such a farce of a message that it was like a mishmash of nonsense and no one reacting the proper way about something as as sort of as consequential as joining a nunnery, but like also for someone we've never seen before, never heard about, never will see again. All the reactions to this were so wrong and outsized.
and also undersized when it was discovered that Meg's parents were locking her up at night so she couldn't escape.
Yeah.
That was just like, well, they have your best interest in mind.
But
Let's move
like
past
but
this and talk
but
about how
like
crazy you are for having religious feelings.
yeah, but again, it's like it's such sort of like, oh, dumb. Like it's just this stupid way of being like, look at how like rich and deep this irony is that these parents have to lock their daughter up because she's found religion. She wants to run away to become closer to God. Talk about something that no one is worried about. No one is worried about that.
That is true. That is true. But you know what people are less worried about? What happens next week.
Ugh.
We have a consequence-free episode. I feel like the writers felt like things were getting a little too heavy, and having Blair scream "God is dead" in the middle of a two-part episode. Maybe we should go light next week. So they go light. Um, Mrs. Garrett will have somebody from her past who we've met before return. And the episode is called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And it is a Mrs. Garrett episode because the girl's subplot is that there's a squirrel loose in their in their room.
Does this squirrel have anything to do with Mrs. Garrett at all?
They may cross paths,
Okay.
maybe. But yeah, it is an episode where you will be saying, so they didn't have a fact this week. And I
Okay.
think that's good. I think we could use that, especially after this one.
Yeah, so what's the fact here?
The fact here, I think, it's hard to say because I feel like the fact is hypocritical, is the
Yes.
problem.
Well,
Um,
shit.
I would say that the fact, if I'm trying to find one, because I try to find my own fact along the way that I believe each week, and I would say that this
You
one
do
is.
realize you do realize that by doing that, you're being completely delusional because there are no real facts in this show.
I'm more so what fact I'm trying to find is like what did I take away from it? Not what were they trying to give me?
Okay.
Because what they're trying to give me is a mishmash, and we just spent 2.5 hours discussing it. But what I take away from this episode is basically religion ruins everything.
Okay. So God is dead.
God's not dead. He's there being mischievous in the corner, and if you listen to him too much, you run the risk of being locked up by your parents, or locking up your child, or punching your friend in the face, or disowning your fake sister, or not getting to get any dick.
Okay.
So stay away.
Okay.
That's the fact that I took from this episode. I think it was a good one.
No.
Not a good episode. Good fact.
No.
All right. Well, it's worked for my life so far. All right. Well, with that, I think we should let our lovelies perhaps go take a break.
Yeah.
I imagine most people will probably watch this episode in 6, 7, 8 breaks.
Please, like I did watching this episode of Facts.
Well, I promise you, next week's episode, it's going to go down like a glass of fruit punch.
Great. A glass of fruit punch.
I was looking for something that was like light and sweet and fun and, you know.
Not like this one, which went down like, a dry communion wafer with no wine.
Oh, I was going to say spoiled buttermilk.
Ah, okay.
But yours makes my throat itchy, so nice word picture. All right, and with that, thank you for staying with us this long, and we will see you next week when a squirrel is afoot.
God is dead.
God is dead. Fuck Steve. Bye.